Chapter 30-28. I think we should team up for the time being. We'll go back and eliminate everyone else. When it's just the two of us, we'll go all out. This way we'll at least be able to get into the top two. Mu Tianai looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow did not recover immediately. Mu Tianai sighed and said, originally, I wanted to advance to the supreme stage and then take down the small pagoda. But now, I don't have that hope anymore. I can only focus on fighting for the championship. Brother Yi, don't agree with him. I feel that this Mu Tianai is very strange. But I can't tell what's wrong with him. But he's definitely not as humble as he looks. Hearing Mu Tianya's words, Myriad Sword Sect immediately reminded him. It's fine. We're not afraid of him. Night Sorrow replied Myriad Sword Sect, then looked at Myriad Sword Sect and said, Okay. We'll attack immediately. Wipe them all out. Mu Tianai, who withdrew his murderous aura, gave off a refreshing feeling. Night Sorrow felt that the feeling Mu Tianai gave him was very similar to the feeling he had when he obtained the pair of copper hammers. Both of them had the aura of vicissitudes. If he did not obtain the incinerated copper hammers, he would not have known this. Could it be that this Mu Tianai came from the fog area? Thinking of this, Night Sorrow could not help but be vigilant. After that, Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai temporarily joined forces and returned to attack the people of the four territories. Under the cooperation of Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai, the people of the four territories were finally completely united. But they were still eliminated one after another. After eliminating the people of the four territories, Mu Tianai glanced at Night Sorrow and said, We've consumed a lot, but we've also gained a lot. Why don't we start the final battle half a month later? No. We can't agree to this. Hearing this, Xiao Tianxian immediately said, asking Night Sorrow to reject it. Myriad Sword Sect agreed with this. Yes. That's right, we can't agree to this. If he advances to the supreme stage in half a month, we'll be in danger. This is the same as releasing a tiger back into the mountains. At this time Wu Lingfei suddenly said, Agree. However, both sides had to agree that they would not fight for half a month. Make him swear an oath. There's nothing wrong with your character, but he doesn't know if you'll go back on your word. You said that, didn't you? Xiao Tianxian asked in puzzlement after Wu Lingfei finished speaking. Wu Lingfei continued, I've discovered the hammer's secret. We can help Night Sorrow seize the tower. As long as he could get his hands on that earthly sovereign level pagoda. So what if he can become a supreme being? Are you that confident? Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully. It shouldn't be a problem. Wu Lingfei nodded. The true name of this pair of hammers should be restriction-breaking hammers. When it was in perfect condition, it could break through all earthly sovereign seals. Although I've already suffered heavy injuries, I can still break through all the restrictions below the earthly supreme level. I see. If the hammers can break through the restrictions, then getting close to the small pagoda will be very easy. Master Wanjian was also excited, but then he said, But every artifact here has to go through a battle before it can be subdued. Although Brother Yi is a genius, how can he be a match for the small pagoda's artifact spirit? That small pagoda doesn't have an artifact spirit. Wu Lingfei explained, This is what the artifact spirit of the hammers saw. Now, one of the hammers has already recognized me as its master. With Wu Lingfei's explanation, everyone suddenly understood. Originally, the hammers were divided into male and female. Now, the female hammer had already recognized her as its master. The male hammer was waiting for Night Sorrow. So this pair of hammers has such an ability. Hearing them talking about Night Sorrow, he thought for a moment and felt that he should choose to agree with Mu Tianai. So he said, You and I swear an oath to the heavenly Tao that we won't fight for half a month. Good. That's exactly what I want. Mu Tianai smiled and happily swore an oath to the heavenly Tao. Then he turned around and left, not caring at all whether Night Sorrow swore an oath or not. This Mu Tianai seems to think that he has taken advantage of us. After seeing Mu Tianai turn around and leave, he increased the distance between them and began to cultivate again. Obviously he wanted to break through to the supremacy stage again. When he entered the state of cultivation, Master Wanjian laughed. Ignore him, let's go get the small pagoda. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he communicated with the male hammers and asked them to recognize him as their master. After the hammers recognized him as their master, Night Sorrow completely understood their history. It turned out that this pair of hammers really did come from the fog area. However, they were damaged and did not have a deep memory of the fog area. He did not get much useful information from them. He only knew that the fog area was very dangerous and there were all kinds of powerful existences. It really can break through the restrictions. Then Night Sorrow summoned the hammers. Sure enough, they could continuously break through the restrictions. They broke the restrictions, binding him bit by bit. Soon they arrived at the 90,000-meter mark. After arriving at this position, Night Sorrow turned around and looked at Mu Tianai. He found that Mu Tianya's aura had completely soared to the sky. This was the sign of a breakthrough. Therefore, Night Sorrow asked the male hammers, "That person's aura, did he also come from the fog area? Can you see through his depth? That person should be the reincarnation of an expert. If no one disturbs him, he will definitely break through to the supremacy stage." The male hammers replied and continued, "Why don't you attack him now and sneak up on him? You can definitely defeat him in one fell swoop." "I've already sworn an oath to not attack him for half a month." Night Sorrow shook his head and said, "Let's continue forward." He knew that any earthly supremacy divine artifact was extremely extraordinary. If he could get the small pagoda, he would definitely be able to fight Mu Tianai. This Mu Tianai was very special. He was the first evenly matched opponent Night Sorrow had encountered in the same realm. The restriction-breaking hammer is really powerful. After Yi Shang finished speaking, the restriction-breaking hammer continued to attack, bringing him to a position of 100,000 meters. He was only 8,000 meters away from the small pagoda. The Myriad Sword sect could not help but praise. "This is nothing. When we were at our peak, we could even break the seals of earthly supremacies." Hearing this, the male hammers said disdainfully and continued to break the seals. At this time, Moonfeather Earthly Supremacy, who was watching from the sidelines, could not help but frown. "I didn't expect Night Sorrow to be able to survive until now. If this continues, the Earthly Supremacy divine artifact will definitely be taken by him." Feng Wuji shook his head and said, "An Earthly Supremacy divine artifact will not be so easily controlled by an overlord. Even if it does not have an artifact spirit, it will not be so easily subdued." As for the other supremacies present, they did not look too good. This was especially so for the supremacy from the Burning Sky territory. When he saw the restriction-breaking hammer's ability, he was so angry that his face turned red. If they had known earlier that the restriction-breaking hammer was so powerful in breaking seals, they would not have handed it over to Fenmia. Clan M. Chapter 30-29. No matter what, Night Sorrow has shown that he is not inferior to the Supreme Longevity. When he comes out, I will definitely kill him. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign looked at Yi Shang with a cold expression. On the surface, he did not want Night Sorrow to obtain the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, he was already looking forward to it. This was because he felt that there was no difference between him and Night Sorrow obtaining it. Everyone present was well aware of this matter, but no one dared to say it out loud. Feng Wuji was not in the mood to do so. Then, under everyone's gaze, Night Sorrow relied on the restriction-breaking hammer and approached the small tower step by step. When he was close enough, he took a deep breath and summoned the small tower. There is no response. I can confirm that there is no artifact spirit. After saying that, Yi Shang decided to take action and take the small pagoda. Wu Lingfei reminded him, "Be careful. The earthly sovereign artifact is definitely not that simple." "Don't worry," Night Sorrow replied. At this time, Xiao Tianxian also explained, "The earthly sovereign divine artifact is extraordinary." He tried to communicate with it again. If there was no response. If there is no response, you can just take it. "All right. I will be careful. I will try again. If it doesn't work, I will take action." Night Sorrow replied and tried to communicate with the small tower again. He still did not get anything. He used his power of merit and tried to wrap it around the small tower, but there was still no response. Since there is no response, I can only take it by force. According to everyone's reminder, Night Sorrow had already done what he needed. However, there was still no response from the small tower. Night Sorrow wanted to take it into his space. But, however, after Night Sorrow made his move, he was met with a huge echo. The small tower did not move at all. "I will try to get closer," Yi Shang said and walked towards Lil Pagoda. Although the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower was without an owner, it had its own defense. After getting closer, Night Sorrow immediately felt its oppressive power. That kind of suppression came from the Earth Sovereign level, and Night Sorrow had more or less absorbed some of it. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. At this moment, he had activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret Technique, the Phoenix Battle Armor, and the Power of Virtue. With these, he was able to slowly approach the small pagoda. After getting closer, Night Sorrow gently touched the small tower with his fingertips. Boom. Just as Night Sorrow's fingertips touched Small Pagoda immediately retaliated. It sent Night Sorrow flying. The tremors were so severe that even the people in the God World's paradise were shaken to the core. Even though Night Sorrow's body was made of copper and iron, he was still shaken to the point that several of his bones were fractured. After swallowing a few recovery pills, Night Sorrow said, "This small pagoda shouldn't be so easy to conquer. I'm going to try and see if I can make it recognize me as its master by dripping my blood on it." Good. At this point we can only try our best. The knowledge of the people in the God World was not outstanding at all in the Eternal Supreme World. No one could give Night Sorrow any useful advice. After he spoke, Master Wanjian agreed. "I'll give it a try now." After making up his mind, without any hesitation, he took out some blood from his fingertips and dripped it on Small Pagoda. However, a moment later, these few drops of blood were spat out by the small tower. Obviously, this imitation of the eternal divine pagoda rejected his blood very much. Blood won't work either. How should I do it? Night Sorrow glanced at Mu Tianai and found that Mu Tianya's aura was getting stronger and stronger. He was not far away from the Earth Sovereign level. He said anxiously. No matter what, he wanted to defeat all his opponents and bring back the championship for the God World. However, if Mu Tianai successfully broke through and he didn't make any contributions, he would be no match for him even if he fought to the death. This Mu Tianai in front of him was obviously not ordinary. He killed Xian Qingyu and the Holy Ape as if they were toys. Even if he didn't break through, he would still be difficult to deal with. Breaking through to the Earth Sovereign level was like leaping through the Dragon's Gate. His strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. At this moment, Xiong Chue suddenly said, "Master, your method is not very reliable. Do you know other ways to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master?" The forbidden copper hammer used to be an earthly sovereign divine artifact. Although it was severely damaged, causing the artifact spirit to lose some of its memories, Xiong Chue knew more about it. When it came to making a divine artifact recognize its master, it knew more than Night Sorrow. When he heard this, he immediately asked with anticipation. "Yes. According to my senses, this earthly sovereign divine artifact didn't come from the foggy area. However, it's an imitation of a divine artifact in the foggy area." Xiong Chue said and continued, "I remember that there is only one way to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master in the foggy area. That is to match your fate." "Match your fate? What do you mean?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was puzzled. The others in the God World had no idea what Xiong Chue was talking about. Match your fate is the only way to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master in the foggy area. Xiong Chue continued. "Do you know how to match your fate?" Night Sorrow asked expectantly. "I know. However, if you want me to hand it over to you, I have a condition," Xiong Chue said with some embarrassment. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "If you have any conditions, just tell me. If I can fulfill them, I will try my best to fulfill them." "Okay, then I'll say it. Actually, we let you and Wu Lingfei recognize you as its master so that one day we can completely recover. I hope that in the future, if you get any earthly sovereign level materials, you will give them to us first. Let us return to our peak." The male hammer of the restriction breaking hammer slowly stated his request. "I agree to this condition. Before you recover to the level of earthly sovereign, I will give you priority to devour any materials that I get." Hearing the other party's request, Yi Shan agreed without hesitation. This was because such a request was nothing. "Good. Then I will immediately teach you the method of matching your fate." After receiving Yi Shang's affirmation, the weapon spirit of the male hammer was extremely excited. It immediately transmitted the method of matching birth charts to Yi Shang. So that's how it is. After learning the secret method, Night Sorrow immediately understood. It turned out that matching fate was basically the same as the literal meaning. It was to let Night Sorrow provide his fate to the small tower. If his fate or future could meet the potential requirements of the small tower, it would be able to recognize him as its master. If his fate was not as good as the small tower and did not meet its requirements, then there was no way to make it recognize him as its master. "Everyone, I have mastered the secret method. Now I will try it one last time. This time I will either succeed or die trying." After saying this, Night Sorrow began to use the fate matching technique on the small tower. Clan M. Chapter 30:30. When Night Sorrow used the fate matching technique, Small Pagoda shook violently. However, it did not continue to attack Night Sorrow or shake him away. At this moment, Night Sorrow felt as if his mind and Small Pagoda were one. His past was quickly read by Small Pagoda, and Small Pagoda also read Night Sorrow's mysterious fate. I wonder if it will succeed. Small Pagoda kept shaking, and Wu Lingfei, who was in the space grotto heaven, said worriedly. If Night Sorrow's fate can suppress Small Pagoda's fate, he should be able to smoothly make it recognize him as its master. Master, don't worry. The female hammer immediately comforted her. At this moment, Wu Lingfei looked at the restriction-breaking bronze hammer in her hand and asked, "What exactly is a fate?" The female hammer immediately explained, "Fate is also called a fate chart. It is a map of the positions of the stars in the void when a person is born. From this, we can infer a trace of this person's luck and future achievements." Night Sorrow showed his fate to the pagoda in front of him, basically to let the pagoda see his fate, or whether he is a person with great luck. So that's how it is. Then can you see some things in the future from my fate? Wu Lingfei asked curiously. The female hammer denied, "I can only see the general pattern. I can't see any details." So that's how it is. Wu Lingfei nodded and once again paid attention to Night Sorrow, secretly praying in her heart. At this moment, Night Sorrow was the same as Small Pagoda, clearly seeing his fate at the same time. However, he could not understand it at all. All he could see was the boundless sea of stars. However, Night Sorrow did not care, because what he cared about was the hard work of the day after tomorrow, and not the arrangement of the heavens. You are a person with great luck. I agree to recognize you as my master. But there is a condition that you need to agree to. Just as Night Sorrow was thinking about his fate, he suddenly heard a voice transmission in his mind. He said uncertainly, "You are Small Pagoda?" "I am not called Small Pagoda, nor am I an imitation of the Eternal Divine Tower. It is the real Eternal Divine Tower. To be exact, it is 1/9 of the Eternal Divine Tower. It's the 7th floor." The 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower spoke to Night Sorrow before continuing, "I agree to recognize you as my master, but you have to promise me that you'll help me gather the other parts of the tower. The other parts of the pagoda are also of the earthly sovereign level? With my current strength, it should be very difficult for me to do so. However, if you believe me, I will definitely do it for you in the future." Night Sorrow knew that the Eternal Divine Tower was a legendary divine artifact. Gathering all of it would be extremely difficult. "I don't know what happened to the other parts of the tower. However, I can sense that they are not in this eternal sovereign realm." The 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower continued. "Is it the artifact spirit or the pagoda body that's communicating with me? How should I address you?" Night Sorrow couldn't sense the artifact spirit on the 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, so he wasn't sure what it was that was communicating with him. "I am on the 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. You can just call me Little Seven. The Eternal Divine Tower doesn't have an artifact spirit, but it has a consciousness." "Good. From now on, I will call you Little Seven." After letting Little Seven recognize him as its master, Night Sorrow said this and then asked, "Little Seven, what abilities do you have?" "I can use it for battle, cultivation, and also to rapidly increase my strength. The complete body of the Eternal Divine Tower contains the great Tao of heaven and earth. It is a supreme divine artifact. My great Tao is incomplete, but if you cultivate in it, you will still gain a lot," Little Seven said proudly. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately asked, "What about battle?" "You'll slowly get to know my combat abilities. At least for now, some of my abilities are far superior to yours," Little Seven said confidently. After saying this, it laughed to itself. "I have been silent for countless years. Now that I am able to communicate with someone, this feeling is really not bad. What is your relationship with Yen Hengshi? You should have a certain relationship with him since you are here, right?" Night Sorrow thought of Yen Hengshi, who he had encountered before, and immediately asked. Yen Hengshi's original body was one of the first few lives in the Eternal Supreme World. He was also one of the people who established the battle for providence. The essence of this battle for providence is not to let people fight for providence. It is to find geniuses. However, all these years, Yen Hengshi's original body has already fallen. He also did not find the inheritor he was looking for. Shaoqi explained and continued, "As for my relationship with him, it's not that simple. It is because he brought me out of the fog by chance back then, and I promised to do something for him. Now it has already passed the time limit." "What was Yen Hengshi's strength at his peak?" Everyone said that Supreme Longevity was the first Earth Sovereign in the Eternal Supreme World. Why do I feel that Yen Hengshi was even stronger? Night Sorrow continued to ask in confusion. Little Seven's words made him think of a lot. I'm not sure about this matter, but it is definitely not inferior to an Earth Sovereign. After all, Yen Hengshi and the others are the ancestors of everyone in the Eternal Supreme World. Little Seven said very humanely. Okay, we will talk about these things later. Little Seven, cooperate with us to solve the problem in front of us first. At this time, Night Sorrow still wanted to ask some other things, but he felt that Mu Tianai had already changed. He immediately fixed his gaze on him. At this time, Mu Tianai was fighting with the Supreme World, and he had successfully suppressed the Supreme Tribulation body, and was about to advance to the Supreme stage. Brother Yi, now is a good opportunity. If you kill him directly, our Heavenly Realm territory will be the final champion. Seeing that Mu Tianai was about to become a supreme stage and his strength would increase rapidly, Master Wan Jian immediately said anxiously. At this time he still did not know that Night Sorrow had successfully made Small Tower recognize him as its master, and was a little flustered. Night Sorrow smiled and said, "We desire to be the champion, but there is no need to use a sneak attack to win. Let's wait until he advances to the supreme stage." After saying this, Night Sorrow summoned Little Seven to his hand and held it while waiting for Mu Tianai to advance. I have finally recovered to the supreme stage. About 7 days later, Mu Tianai suddenly looked up at the sky and roared. Then he floated in the void and looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Night Sorrow, you did something wrong. You should not have given me so much time. If you had attacked me before I started cultivating, our strength would have been on par. But now you are no longer my opponent. If you had observed carefully, you would not have said that. Don't think that only your strength has increased." Night Sorrow could not help but praise Mu Tianai's powerful aura. He had just advanced to the supreme stage. He gave people the feeling that he was at the peak of the supreme stage, and could be said to be incomparably powerful. Just like Night Sorrow, he was a peerless genius who could fight across realms. However, even though Yi Shang was weaker than him, he wasn't afraid at all, because Little Seven would cooperate with him in the battle. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 30-31. What? You've obtained the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower. Looking at the small tower in Night Sorrow's hand and the empty space in the distance, Mu Tianai came to a realization. After thinking it through, his pupils shrank and he said in disbelief, "This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How can you have the strength to obtain it?" "Nothing is impossible. The replica of the Eternal Divine Tower in my hand is at the level of an earthly sovereign. Are you prepared to fight?" Night Sorrow looked at Mu Tianai and said slowly. Mu Tianai's body was emitting a strong fighting spirit. After becoming a sovereign, he no longer hid anything. He looked like he was ready to kill everyone. "Night Sorrow, if you still have some courage, don't use external forces and let's have a fair fight. Relying on an earthly sovereign artifact to crush your opponent is not your own ability. That's too shameful." Mu Tianai snorted after thinking for a while. Although he had just become a supreme being and had displayed great strength, it was impossible for him to suppress an earthly supreme being artifact. "Ah." Hearing this, Night Sorrow laughed and said, "I've already given you a chance to become a sovereign. This is already a great courage. Moreover, to do a good job, one must first sharpen his tools. To be able to make an earthly sovereign artifact recognize me as its master is also my ability. What's so shameful about that?" "You." For a moment, Mu Tianai was speechless. At this time, Little Seven sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "Night Sorrow, the person in front of you is very special. His soul should be about the same age as Yen Hengshi. They should be from the same era. His combat strength is far superior to those of the same level. Can you tell if he's from the Eternal Sovereign Realm?" Night Sorrow immediately asked after hearing Little Seven's words. "Obviously not. He should be from the fog area. There's a high probability that he's an evil person." Little Seven glanced at Mu Tianai and immediately made his judgment. "Why is there a high chance that he's an evil person?" Night Sorrow asked in confusion. "The fog in the fog area is very poisonous. After cultivating for a long time, one would naturally lose their conscience and become someone who only knew how to kill. The level of evil is much more terrifying than you can imagine. Let's put it this way, if even 1% of the creatures in the fog come out, your Eternal Supreme Realm will be slaughtered directly. Little Seven said with certainty. What? Is the foggy area really that terrifying? Night Sorrow was confused when he heard Little Seven's words. Based on Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign's words, one could tell that the Supreme Longevity Earthly Sovereign had found a way to become an Earthly Sovereign in the fog region. Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign had also made some achievements there. He could tell that Supreme Longevity was not an evil person, but he could not be sure about Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign. Hence, he immediately ordered, Little Seven, help me check on Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign and see if his aura in the fog area is dense. After saying that, Night Sorrow took out Evil Sword. Little Seven checked it and said, it's far from it. If I'm not wrong, this sword has only entered the foggy area once. It left when it was less than 100 meters in. There's not much of the aura of the fog on it. Then I'm relieved, Night Sorrow said. Then he realized something. He immediately asked, you said that you were grateful to Yen Hung for bringing you out of the fog area. Then, are the other parts of the Eternal Divine Tower scattered in the fog area? If I'm not wrong, most of them are in there. They should have been completely corrupted by the fog. Hence, it's not easy to reconstruct the Eternal Divine Tower. Little Seven sighed like a human. We'll talk about this later. Night Sorrow had a lot of things to sort out in his mind. However, Mu Tianai was still in front of him. Naturally, he would not let his imagination run wild. Instead, he looked at Mu Tianai and said, who are you? Or should I say, what are you? Haha, did the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower say something to you? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Mu Tianai was stunned for a moment. Then he said, that's right. I came from the fog area. However, you don't have the right to know what I am. Is that so? Since I don't have the right to know, I'll find out from your memories after I kill you. Night Sorrow originally wanted to let Mu Tianai go. However, now that he had confirmed that he was a life form from the fog area, he naturally would not let him go and let him start a massacre in the Eternal Divine World. After saying that, he directly used the 33 Heavens battle secret technique. Holding the evolved golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he directly attacked Mu Tianai. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. This move was as powerful as ever. However, Mu Tianai said disdainfully, if I was at my peak strength, I would have been able to kill you. A single strand of hair could kill you. Even the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower in your hands is nothing. Mu Tianai did not know that Little Seven was a part of the Eternal Divine Tower. With a roar, he completely unleashed the fog aura on his body. For a moment, the surrounding world was completely shrouded in fog. Night Sorrow's Eternal Life Amplification Spear, which had always worked, did not paralyze Mu Tianai. So this is the fog aura? It's indeed a crazy killing aura. Night Sorrow, who had wrapped himself in the power of virtue, found that the power of virtue had a very good resistance against the fog aura. He used his divine soul to investigate and found that the fog aura was indeed bloodthirsty and evil, making him feel very uncomfortable. What do you know? This is the purest source of power. Mu Tianai roared and controlled the fog aura to attack Night Sorrow again. He felt that as long as he could quickly control Night Sorrow, it would be equivalent to controlling Night Sorrow. Even if Night Sorrow had an earthly sovereign divine weapon, he would not be a threat to him. You're thinking too much. You want to control me? Impossible. Night Sorrow, who was using the power of virtue to resist the fog aura, roared and ordered, Little Seven, do it. Show me your strength. Don't worry. Although he used to be powerful, he's not a threat now. Facing Mu Tianai, who had just become an earthly sovereign, Little Seven smiled. Like a heavy sword without a sharp edge, he enlarged the tower and smashed it directly. Not good. How can Night Sorrow resist the fog aura? Mu Tianai, who did not expect Night Sorrow to be able to resist the fog aura so easily, immediately cried out when he saw Little Seven coming at him. Although he was very strong, he was not strong enough to fight against Little Seven, who was an earthly sovereign. Whether it was in terms of speed or laws. At this moment, Mu Tianai could not dodge even if he wanted to. He was smashed by Little Seven. After being hit, Mu Tianai was immediately severely injured. At this moment, Little Seven transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. I just told you that I can use it to cultivate, to fight, and to increase your strength quickly. Now I'll show you how to increase your strength quickly. Clan M. Chapter 30-32. Great, Little Seven. I'll wait and see. Night Sorrow said excitedly after hearing Little Seven's words. I can turn everything in time into the purest rules and essence. For example, this Mu Tianai in front of us. Little Seven sent a telepathic message and controlled the tower to smash out again. This time, although Mu Tianai used all his strength, he was still hit. Although Little Seven was only on the 7th level of the Eternal Divine Tower, it had the power of an earthly sovereign and could easily deal with him. Damn it. I Mu Tianai am always lacking in luck. Am I going to be reincarnated again? No, where there's life, there's hope. I'll just give up. Being suppressed by Little Seven, Mu Tianai roared in his heart. He knew that the Eternal Divine Tower was going to absorb him and turn him into rules and essence. After struggling for a while, he decided to give up and used his doppelganger hidden in the void to crush the nameplate. He gave up on this battle for Providence. Although it was his doppelganger who crushed the nameplate, his real body was also teleported out. He used a secret technique to escape. Little Seven, who originally wanted to suppress Mu Tianai and turn him into rules and essence to give to Night Sorrow, didn't stop him. He didn't notice the doppelganger hidden in the void while guarding against Mu Tianai's real body. Therefore he didn't stop him. He used his doppelganger to crush the nameplate. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. It's normal that we can't guard against him. Yi Shang comforted Little Seven before he continued, however, we must find out who he is in the future. We can't let him bring disaster to the eternal sovereign world. Yes. Every creature in the foggy area that appears in the eternal sovereign world needs to be destroyed as soon as possible. Otherwise he can cause a lot of chaos. Little Seven said solemnly. Even for a divine artifact of the earthly sovereign level, the foggy area was a terrifying place to be. Yes, we have to find a way to deal with him. But Mu Tianai is hiding in the strongest territory, Tianshao territory. He will definitely be protected. With our strength, it's very difficult to deal with him. Night Sorrow nodded and said in a serious tone. The Heavenly Owl territory has always been one of the 4 great holy lands in the eternal supreme world. This is indeed a difficult task. Little Seven agreed, then continued, but now that you've suppressed him once, you've already won. In the future he would definitely suppress it. This was luck. You just need to focus on increasing your strength. Speaking of increasing your strength, you have an opportunity right in front of you. After all, you are already the champion of this year's Battle of Providence. That's right. Our territory in the God realm is the champion. It was impossible for Night Sorrow to not be happy about leading the celestial realm to the championship, but he was still affected by Mu Tianai's incident. He didn't show too much excitement. As for the 10,000 Sword Sect, that was a completely different story. He excitedly transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, our heavenly realm has won the championship. Is this for real? Am I dreaming? Before participating in the Battle of Providence, the 10,000 Sword Sect thought that it would be good enough if the celestial realm could win the 1,000th place. They didn't expect that under the leadership of Night Sorrow, they would climb to the top step by step. He felt that he could die at night if he heard the truth in the morning. Even if he died now, it would be worth it. It's real. All of this is real. We can drink and celebrate. Xiao Tianxian, who had always been mature, also laughed heartily. It was the first time that the celestial realm had won the championship. As a participant, how could he not be excited? It's worth it. At this moment, I feel that everything I've done is worth it. Yuan Fengshua's eyes were red and she said with tears in her eyes. In order to become the champion this time, Night Sorrow and everyone else had sacrificed too much. To cultivators, not being able to use their divine essence force and divine soul power for 30,000 years was even greater than the destruction of their divine soul. At this moment, Night Sorrow said, "Thank you all for your efforts along the way. It's you who led us to glory. Without you, it would be difficult for us to enter the top 1,000. Murong Jinlu said with emotion. Like the 10,000 Sword Sect, he still felt that everything was a dream. While they were celebrating, only Feng Wuji looked uncomfortable. There was even a hint of a playful smile on his face. Everyone else's faces were dark. They still couldn't accept that the celestial realm had won the championship. At first, Moon Feather Earthly Supremacy's face had darkened. However, after thinking about it for a bit, he smiled. He said, "I wonder what kind of reward this Yi Chang can get for me." In his heart, Night Sorrow was already a fish on the chopping board. He was ready to kill Night Sorrow and take the treasure. At this moment, the scene that they had been watching suddenly stopped. Lunar Feather Earth Sovereign frowned and said, "What's going on?" Lunar Feather Earth Sovereign, this might be Night Sorrow from the Celestial Realm receiving the special reward for being the champion. The scene inside is covered by something. Dao Wui on the side speculated. In fact, after Yen Hengshi's shadow appeared, Little Seven helped Night Sorrow cover everything. After all, it was the core of the competition field. Hehe, congratulations to all of you for reaching the end and becoming the final champion. After Yen Hengshi's shadow appeared, he congratulated Night Sorrow with a smile. Senior. Night Sorrow summoned the others from the celestial realm. Everyone called out to him together and didn't say anything. Good. Good. Every one of you is very righteous. A group of good seedlings has appeared in the celestial realm. In the future they will definitely stir up the stagnant pool of the eternal supreme world. They will change the situation. Yen Hengshi glanced at everyone and praised. Senior, you flatter me. Night Sorrow immediately said humbly. The others all smiled bitterly. Now they couldn't even use their divine origin energy and divine soul power. How could they stir up the situation? At this time Yen Hengshi smiled and said, don't be discouraged. Even if you lose your divine origin energy and divine soul power, as long as your original heart doesn't change, you will recover one day. Flowers have a day to bloom again, so do you? Thank you for your comfort, Senior. Xiao Tianxian cupped his fists and bowed to Yen Hengshi. The others from the Myriad Sword sect also said some words of gratitude. At this time Yen Hengshi continued, after the pleasantries it's time to get to the point. I have two things to say. One is a good thing, the other is a bad thing. Which one do you want to hear first? Let's taste bitter first. Let's listen to the bad one first. After everyone in the celestial realm discussed for a while, Night Sorrow said. The others looked at Yen Hengshi with a solemn expression. Good. Yen Hengshi said a good thing and then sighed softly. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, the bad thing is that you used the external force of the eternal divine tower in the final battle and weren't chosen as the inheritor. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 30-33. I wasn't chosen as the inheritor? That's nothing. After all, I already have my own Tao. After listening to Yen Hengshi's phantom, Night Sorrow felt that this matter was nothing. It was not a bad thing. This is just part of this matter. Then Yen Hengshi's phantom continued, the other thing is according to my original plan. The great calamity of the eternal supreme world that occurs once in a billion years is about to come again. Without the inheritance of my original body, it will be difficult for you to resist it. Since Senior knows that without your inheritance, we can't resist the great calamity, why do you have to leave the inheritance? Night Sorrow was puzzled. He felt that Yen Hengshi's words were very contradictory. Alas, my original body's inheritance is the rule set by my original body. The rule is dead. If you don't meet the conditions, he won't pass it down. I can't control this matter. Speaking of which, I'm just a housekeeper. Yen Hengshi's phantom said helplessly. In his opinion, Night Sorrow was the most suitable successor, but there was a rule in advance. Night Sorrow couldn't get the inheritance. As for the others in the territory of the divine realm, they were even less qualified to get it. Maybe it's time and fate. Since we can't get it, in the face of the great calamity that Senior mentioned, we can only think of a way ourselves. Night Sorrow said and then asked doubtfully, as for what kind of calamity it is, I hope Senior can tell me. I don't know what it is exactly. But it must be related to the fog area. Only the creatures in the fog area can threaten the life and death of the eternal supreme world. Yen Hengshi's phantom speculated. Senior, may I ask where the other seniors who appeared in your era are now? Are they still alive? Thinking of the birth of Yen Hengshi, Night Sorrow asked curiously. He didn't seem to be the only life that appeared at that time. I don't know where I came from and how I became sentient. But I know that there were a total of 5 lives at that time. Yen Hengshi recalled for a moment and continued, 2 of them have been staying and guarding the eternal supreme world. They are me and Yen. As for the other 3, they all entered the fog area and completely became bloodthirsty demons. The fall of my original body and Yan's sleep are directly related to them. Back then, a great battle took place between us. So something like this had happened before. Did the 3 existences in the foggy area perish back then? Night Sorrow asked. Sigh. If I remember correctly, although they were all heavily injured back then, none of them died. Perhaps he had already recovered after all these years. Who knows when they will make a comeback? Yen Hengshi's shadow said helplessly. This is indeed a bad thing. Senior, may I ask what the strength of those 3 existences are? Earth Sovereign? Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow's heart was instantly covered with a layer of shadow. He was worried that the dark and ancient existences would launch an attack on the eternal sovereign realm. Their strength is above the level of an earthly sovereign. When my original body was alive, there was no such thing as how one's realm was calculated. They simply called it the extreme realm. It meant the limit of the supreme being level. However, none of them have surpassed the level of supremacy. Yin Hengshi's shadow said slowly. Is it equivalent to being one level higher than an Earth Sovereign? Now that there are so many Earth Sovereigns in the Eternal Sovereign Realm, they might be able to resist. Before Night Sorrow could speak, Wan Jianzong said in relief. At this time, Yin Hengshi's shadow continued, it seems that above the Earth Sovereign, there is a Heavenly Sovereign, and then the Supreme Extreme Realm. Hearing this, Wan Jianzong was immediately speechless. While Wan Jianzong was speechless, Yin Hengshi continued, the three of them have several Heavenly Sovereigns under them. Send any one of them and no one in the Eternal Sovereign Realm can resist them. Speaking of which, the cultivators of the Eternal Sovereign Realm in front of us are only born after this realm was cut off. In the battle back then we lost miserably. All the experts were destroyed. Therefore, many people think that Supreme Longevity is the first Earth Sovereign of the Eternal Sovereign Realm. What? So that's how it is? When Yin Hengshi said this, Night Sorrow and the rest of the people in the Heavenly Realm all shuddered. The truth in front of them was much crueler than they had imagined. The difference in strength between the Eternal Sovereign Realm and the creatures in the fog was like heaven and earth. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow, who had a headache, asked doubtfully, Senior, then there's nothing we can do but wait to be harvested? The last hope of the Eternal Paragon Realm is Yen, who is in deep slumber. As long as she can wake up, there is still a glimmer of hope for the Eternal Sovereign Realm. In addition, it depends on your efforts. Yin Hengshi was very helpless. In the battle back then, his original body had been killed. Now he wanted to help, but he didn't have the ability to do so. Where can we find Senior Yen? The Eternal Sovereign Realm's greatest reliance at the moment was the Supreme Extreme Realm's Yen. Night Sorrow asked for her location. Hearing this, Yin Hengshi's shadow smiled and said, even those three can't find her, naturally we can't find her. But I believe that when the Eternal Sovereign Realm is in a life and death situation, she will definitely appear. Alright. It seems that before that, we can only rely on our own efforts. Night Sorrow nodded and secretly made up his mind to quickly improve his strength. Strive to advance to the Supreme Realm as soon as possible, and then strive to become an Earth Supreme. He felt that as long as he kept improving his strength, there would always be a glimmer of hope. Okay, that's all for the bad news. Next we should talk about the good news. The good news is that although you haven't opened the inheritance, you have received additional rewards. That is to say, in addition to the normal rewards you received in the square after the battle. Right now, I can give you other rewards. Yin Hengshi saw that the atmosphere was a little depressed and opened his mouth to talk about the rewards. What kind of rewards can we get? Hearing Yin Hengshi's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked. At present, he and everyone in the Eternal Sovereign Realm needed to quickly improve their strength. You have two options. First, Night Sorrow, you advance to the Supreme Realm and reach the half-step Earth Supreme Realm. Second, all of them recover and reach the peak of the Sovereign Realm, which is the half-step Supreme Realm. Yin Hengshi said slowly. This is really a good thing. I choose to let all of them recover. Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and immediately made his choice. Hearing this, Xiao Tianxian immediately said, No. We choose to let Night Sorrow advance to the half-step Earth Supreme Realm. Night Sorrow, don't refuse. Letting you become an Earth Supreme is a good thing for both the realm of the gods and the Eternal Sovereign Realm. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 30-34. That's right, Brother Yi. Just agree to it. I feel that one day we will have to rely on you to resist those terrifying creatures in the fog. Your strength increasing quickly is a good thing for everyone. Thousand Sword Sect also spoke up. That's right. Night Sorrow. You are the hope of all of us. Accept Senior Yin Hengshi's reward. Murong Zizhu also felt that it was more appropriate for Night Sorrow to accept this reward. Wu Lingfei did not speak, but her thoughts were the same as Xiao Tianxian, Thousand Sword Sect, and others. However, because she was too close to Night Sorrow, it was not appropriate for her to say this, so she did not speak. Subsequently, the rest of the people in the Heavenly Realm all spoke up and agreed with Xiao Tianxian. Since so many people agree to leave the reward to Night Sorrow, then I will help him advance his strength. After so many people expressed their opinions, Yin Hengshi immediately made a decision. However, at this time Night Sorrow said with a serious expression, Everyone, I hope you can understand one thing. That is, I, Night Sorrow, have my own Tao. My Tao is to rise in battle, not to accept gifts like this. If I accept this gift, I'm afraid my Tao heart will be unstable. You guys should recover in peace. Senior, help them recover. Night Sorrow is extremely grateful. In the future, I will wholeheartedly protect the safety of the Eternal Supreme Realm. Since you have said so much, then I know what to do. This time, Yen Hengshi's shadow did not continue to say anything, and directly summoned endless energy from this small world. After this energy appeared, it was divided into equal portions and entered the bodies of Xiao Tianxian and the 10,000 Sword Sect members. Not long after, they were completely recovered, and their strength was all promoted to Half-Step Supreme, the same realm as Night Sorrow. How do you guys feel? Seeing that everyone in the heavenly realm had recovered, Night Sorrow asked with concern. We have recovered. Not only have we completely recovered, but our strength has also increased. Thousand Sword Sect, who was originally Half-Step Supreme, said. Even for him, his strength had increased. As for the others, there was no need to even mention them. Wu Lingfei and the others had seen a qualitative increase in their strength. Very good. Not only had everyone recovered their strength, but they had also improved to a certain extent. I didn't win the championship for nothing. Night Sorrow said with relief when he saw that everyone had recovered. At this time, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said speechlessly, I also contributed, but I didn't get anything. When we get out of here, I'll share some of the rewards with you. Night Sorrow said speechlessly. Hearing this, the originally restless chaotic heavenly crystal beast felt a little better. At this time, Yen Hengshi's shadow looked fainter and fainter. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, if nothing unexpected happens, this will be the last battle for Providence because I can't hold on any longer. Soon, everything here, including the inheritance of my original body, was transported to the boundless void and began to drift endlessly. Whoever is fated to see it will have the opportunity. Senior. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately understood that Yen Hengshi's shadow was about to disappear. He was a little sad. I'm about to dissipate and this place will soon fall. Everyone take care. By the way, including my other shadows, if anyone tells you that they will establish an organization to protect the Eternal Supreme Realm, don't believe them. If you want to protect the Eternal Supreme Realm, you can only rely on the efforts of everyone in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Yen Hengshi said again when he was about to dissipate. Yes, Night Sorrow has learned. Night Sorrow moved towards Yen Hengshi's position. Then the small world they were in collapsed in an instant. He and the others of the Heavenly Realm territory all appeared in the square of the battle for Providence. As soon as Night Sorrow's figure appeared, he was locked onto by Moonfeather Earth Sovereign. After locking onto Night Sorrow's aura, Moonfeather Earth Sovereign did not make a move for the time being. Instead, she smiled and continued, the champion has already appeared. What are you waiting for? Start the awards. But Yu Ling Supreme has already fallen. We don't have the authority to activate the rewards. Dao Wui immediately replied. Yu Ling has already been killed. The authority will naturally fall to someone else. You can try and see who can activate the rewards this year. Moonfeather Earth Sovereign continued. Her intention was clear. She wanted Night Sorrow to get the champion's reward, and then the reward for the person who died. I've already been locked onto by that earthly sovereign. As soon as I move, he will attack. All of you enter Brother Zhao's space cave. If he attacks me, you will immediately teleport back to the Heavenly Realm territory. Damn it. The Eternal Supreme Realm is about to be destroyed. Some people are still bullying us in the Heavenly Realm territory. We will all stay and help Night Sorrow. Seeing Moonfeather Earth Sovereign's face, Master Wanjian cursed unhappily. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately advised, don't be impulsive. If you stay, it will affect my energy. Who knows, I might be able to escape alive if I face the earthly sovereign alone. He had completely sensed Moonfeather Earth Sovereign's murderous intent and knew the difference in strength between them. Moreover, Yen Hengshi had said that the energy here had been exhausted. That meant that even if Moonfeather Earth Sovereign attacked him in front of everyone, he would not be punished. The only thing he could rely on was Little Seven. Little Seven was an earthly sovereign. In front of an earthly sovereign, he would not be able to escape. However, after communicating with Little Seven, Night Sorrow's answer was that it was uncertain. Therefore, everything was unknown. Everyone, let's go. Enter Brother Zhao's space cave. At this moment, Wu Lingfei glanced at Yishang and said. After that, she sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. We will wait for your return. I believe that with Little Seven's help, even an earthly sovereign will not be able to do anything to you. Yes. I can still rely on Little Seven to help me escape, Night Sorrow said casually. Then he took Little Seven out of the space cave and put it in his sleeve. He was ready to fight at any time. While Night Sorrow was briefing the people in the Deity World territory, the sovereigns present went to open the champion's reward one after another. After trying, Dao Wui of the Dao World territory opened the champion's reward. Dao Wui's eyes lit up the moment he opened the champion's reward box. What he saw were pieces of earthly sovereign materials, as well as earthly sovereign laws and essences. In addition, there was also a white jade pendant. This white jade pendant was slightly flawed and looked very gentle. However, this was not the main point. The main point was that its aura was not inferior to that of an earthly sovereign. It was obviously an earthly sovereign treasure. Great. This is good stuff. Upon seeing this white jade pendant, Moonfeather Earth Sovereign's eyes lit up immediately. Clan M. Chapter 30-35. That old man is looking at the jade pendant greedily, as if he's admiring something that belongs to him. Night Sorrow, you must be careful. Xiao Tianxian, who had already sent everyone into the space cave, saw the greedy look on Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign's face and immediately reminded him. When Night Sorrow heard this, he looked at Xiao Tianxian and said, Brother Xiao, I will help you get your rewards. Quickly bring everyone back to the realm of the gods. This is not a place to stay for long. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign was eager to go. Feng Wuji was next to him. Although he was expressionless, no one knew what he was thinking. Night Sorrow had been guarding against him. All right. Yishang, you must remember to be careful. We will wait for your return in the realm of the gods. Xiao Tianxian said helplessly as he patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. He and the others in the realm of the gods were helpless in the face of the current situation. Don't worry. No matter how difficult the road ahead is, I will return to the realm of the gods in one piece. Everyone take care. Night Sorrow said as he looked at the rewards that would tempt even the earthly sovereigns. At this time, he realized that Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign was targeting him more and more brazenly. After targeting Night Sorrow, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign began to urge Dao Wui and the others to quickly give out the rewards. After he gave the order, Dao Wui and the others began to give out the rewards. When it came to the top 32 rewards, the number of people was better. When it came to the top 8, many people had been killed and many territories had been wiped out. Only the earthly sovereigns could receive the rewards on behalf of the participants. As for the Jiuxian territory, it was even worse. Although they had won the third place, there were no earthly sovereigns present. The one who went up was Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji, who went up to receive the reward for the third place, had a playful look on his face. No one could tell if he was happy or angry. When it came to the second place, Mu Tianai walked up to the podium in front of the crowd. He took his reward from Dao Wui's hands. At the same time, he looked at Yishang and smiled at him. That smile contained a hint of provocation. I don't know what creature you are. But since you came from the fog region, I will definitely destroy you. No matter where you hide. Night Sorrow said sternly to Mu Tianai through voice transmission. Ah, you can announce my identity to the public and see if anyone here believes you. Mu Tianai provoked indifferently. He knew very well that Night Sorrow was from the realm of the gods and was basically an enemy of the entire world. Even if he told them about what happened in the fog, no one would believe him. I alone am enough to deal with a small fry like you. Night Sorrow said disdainfully to Mu Tianai. At this moment, Mu Tianai smiled and continued, Then let's wait and see. The next time we meet, I will kill you with my own hands. Night Sorrow said coldly. At the same time, he began to think of a way to deal with Mu Tianai. Just as Mu Tianai thought, at this moment, no matter what Night Sorrow said, no one would believe him and stand on his side. As for the fact that the creatures in the fog would invade, no one would believe it. Therefore, he was not in the mood to talk about it. While Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai were talking through voice transmission, Xiao Tianxian led the people from the realm of the gods and successfully left through the teleportation portal. After watching them leave, Night Sorrow let out a sigh of relief. At this moment, Mu Tianai received his reward and slowly walked down the stage. Dao Wui said, The winner of this battle of providence is the realm of the gods. People of the realm of the gods, come up and receive your reward. You seem to have forgotten to say, please. Dao Wui's tone was filled with disdain. It was as if he looked down on the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow, who had flown up the stage, harumphed coldly. Do I need to say, please, to someone like you? Have you ever seen someone say, please, to a chicken, a duck, or a goose? What a joke. Dao Wui looked at Night Sorrow with a fake smile. If you have the mood to care about these things, why don't you think about how you can leave here alive? This has nothing to do with you. Give me my reward. Naturally, Yishang knew that Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign would make a move on him after the award ceremony. He was already thinking of a way to deal with it. With the pair of forbidden breaking hammers left behind by Little Seven and Wu Lingfei, he was not worried that he would be trapped. After all, there was still the Earthly Supreme Jade Pendant in front of him. Who knows, it might be able to play a good role as well. You will soon know whose reward these are. Dao Wui sneered and pointed at the treasure chest that was filled with rewards. Take them yourself. Keep them warm. After all, they won't be yours in a while. You don't have to worry about that. Night Sorrow put away the treasure chest in front of him and immediately used the life chart matching technique to make the jade pendant recognize him as its master. With the experience he had with Little Seven, he was able to make the jade pendant recognize him as its master very quickly this time. A moment later, the jade pendant, which had a weapon spirit, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. I am willing to accept you as my master. Oh? So straightforward? No conditions? Night Sorrow asked curiously. When Little Seven had recognized him as its master, he had mentioned some conditions. Master's life providence is rarely seen in billions of years. To be able to follow by Master's side is already my greatest fortune. The jade pendant said respectfully. All right. In the future, I will not treat you unfairly, Night Sorrow promised. He then asked, White Jade, what can you do? There is a problem ahead of us. We have been targeted by at least one Earthly Supreme. My ability is to nourish the mind. It is very beneficial for cultivation, but I am not very good at fighting. It can be used against those below the Earthly Supreme level, but it is not very effective against Earthly Supremes. White Jade said weakly. Hearing this, Night Sorrow suddenly understood why White Jade had recognized him as its master so easily. It turned out that among the Earthly Supremes, it was a very useless existence. However, it was not bad for it to nourish the mind. Thinking of this, Night Sorrow said, Strength is a source of support. It can be used to increase the efficiency of cultivation. It is very useful. You don't have to feel inferior. Let me and Little Seven handle this matter. Come, Little Seven, get to know each other. Ho ho ho, Night Sorrow. The Moon Shadow Estate would like to invite you, the new champion, to our estate as a guest. What do you think? While Little Seven and White Jade were talking, Moonfeather Earthly Supreme's voice suddenly rang out. Ho ho ho, invite me to the Moon Shadow Estate? Thank you, but I am not interested. Hearing Moonfeather Earthly Supreme's words, Night Sorrow rejected the invitation without hesitation. Everyone knew that Moonfeather Earthly Supreme was a Sima Zhao. Only a fool would accept his invitation. Night Sorrow, I have given you some face. Why don't you know how to cherish it? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Moonfeather Earthly Supreme laughed coldly and continued, Today you have to go even if you don't want to. Chapter 30-36. Oh, you are an Earthly Sovereign. Are you going to be so shameless as to attack a junior? Yishang asked fearlessly in the face of Moonfeather Earthly Supremacy. He knew that no one in the realm of the gods behind him could fight against an Earthly Sovereign. He could only rely on himself. While he was questioning you Earthly Sovereign, Night Sorrow sent a message to Little Seven and the Restriction-Breaking Hammer. Little Seven and the Restriction-Breaking Hammer, let's get ready to escape. Both of you cooperate well later. As for the White Jade, it was used to nourish the mind, so he did not take it into consideration. Yes. The Restriction-Breaking Hammer and Little Seven replied at the same time. While Night Sorrow, the Restriction-Breaking Hammer, and Little Seven were planning their escape, a sinister smile appeared on you Earthly Sovereign's face. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign smiled viciously and said, We have already shed all pretense of cordiality with the God world. This time won't make a difference. Junior, prepare to die. After saying this, you Earthly Sovereign flew into the air and shot a beam of energy at Night Sorrow. This beam of energy was not used to attack Night Sorrow, but to bind him. After the energy was shot, Night Sorrow immediately shouted, Little Seven, take me away. When Little Seven heard this, he immediately put Night Sorrow and the Restriction-Breaking Hammer into the tower. He was preparing to escape. You want to escape in front of me? If I did not have a way to restrain you, I would have set up an array. You Earthly Sovereign saw that Little Seven was about to escape with Night Sorrow. She immediately took out a cobweb-like magical artifact from her space device. After this magical artifact was thrown out, it immediately enveloped Little Seven. It slowly tightened and wrapped around him. This is an earthly sovereign artifact. He has an earthly sovereign artifact on him. Little Seven, who was trapped, immediately shouted. Generally speaking, earthly sovereign artifacts were very rare. Who would have thought that Yu would have one on her? Moreover, it was such a huge net that could cover the sky. Restriction-breaking hammers, it's time for you to attack. Yi Shan did not panic when he was trapped by the net that covered the sky. Instead, he commanded the restriction-breaking hammer to try and break free. Let's try. However, the chances of breaking through were not high. After all, this is an earthly sovereign artifact and we are no longer at our peak strength. The male hammer said as it cooperated with the female hammer and attacked the Moonlight Eclipse net of Moonlight Earthly Sovereign. After being attacked by them, the Moonlight Shrouding net immediately began to shrink even more violently. It looked like it was going to crush the small pagoda. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign laughed and said, "Night Sorrow, oh Night Sorrow. Your strength isn't much, but the treasures you have on you are quite a few. It's exactly what I want. In the future, on this day every year, I will have my disciples burn some paper money for you. Don't worry, even if I die today. Even if I die today, I will make all the artifacts on me explode and leave nothing for you." Night Sorrow roared as he cooperated with the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven to attack the Moonlight Shrouding net. Under their continuous attacks, the Moonlight Shrouding net could not hold on any longer. Indeed, they're all good stuff. Especially this pair of hammers. They are not earthly sovereign artifacts, but they can break some of the seals on them. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to cooperate with Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer to break the Moonlight Shrouding net suppression, Moonlight Shrouding net was about to break free. Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign nodded her head in satisfaction. Then she immediately attacked and cooperated with the Moonlight Shrouding net to completely suppress Little Seven. Lord Moonfeather. These restriction-breaking hammers belong to the Burning Sky territory. Please return them to the Burning Sky territory after you get them. Night Sorrow could not escape from Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign. The Burning Sky territory's sovereign, Fenyuha, immediately spoke. He wanted the restriction-breaking hammers back. Hearing this, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign sneered and said, "These hammers belong to the Burning Sky territory, but Night Sorrow got them and made them recognize him as their master. They belong to Night Sorrow. Now they belong to me. What does this have to do with the Burning Sky territory?" Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign, please consider the harmonious relationship between our territories. Fenyuha of the Burning Sky territory continued. The Burning Sky territory's strength was slightly weaker than the Moonshadow territories, but not by much. Therefore he was not very afraid of Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign. "If you spout any more nonsense, I will kill you." After Fenyuha finished speaking, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign sneered and said with a murderous aura. After being ridiculed like this, Fenyuha could not say anything no matter how much he had in his heart. At this moment he thought for a moment and looked at Feng Wuji. "Wuji Earthly Sovereign, please help the Burning Sky territory." "Oh? Help the Burning Sky territory? On what basis?" Feng Wuji, who had not spoken or made any movements, immediately asked with a smile when he heard Fenyuha's words. "My Burning Sky territory is willing to give the restriction-breaking hammer to you." Fenyuha thought for a moment and said, "Fenyuha, do you take me for a fool? Using me as a spear? Just based on what you said, you no longer have the right to continue living." A cold smile appeared on Feng Wuji's face. He directly attacked and killed Fenyuha with a palm. At the same time, the murderous aura on his body rose. He looked at Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign and said, "Moonfeather, you are looking down on me too much." Brother Wuji, what do you mean by that? My Moonshadow territory and Night Sorrow are mortal enemies. Isn't it normal for me to attack him?" Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign looked at Feng Wuji with a cold expression. He had an Earthly Sovereign artifact in his hand, so he was not too afraid of Feng Wuji. Therefore he did not inform Feng Wuji when he attacked. "If we are talking about enmity, does my 9 profound territory not have enmity with Night Sorrow?" Feng Wuji asked coldly. The murderous aura on his body did not decrease, but increased instead. Sensing the dense murderous aura on Feng Wuji, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign coldly asked, Feng Wuji, have you decided to shed all pretense of cordiality with me? Have you come to fight for Night Sorrow's treasures?" When they had just arrived, Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign had still given Feng Wuji some face. Now they had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. At this moment, Feng Wuji swept his gaze across the crowd and said, "Those who have nothing to do with this, please leave." When he said this, those who were watching did not dare to stay any longer. Everyone knew that Feng Wuji was going to start a war with Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign. If the two earthly sovereigns were to fight, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore no one dared to stay any longer. One after another they left using the teleportation array. They returned to their territories and reported to their superiors. "Feng Wuji, don't think that you are invincible just because you are from the four great saint lands. Today I will kill you." Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign looked viciously at Feng Wuji and threw out a punch at him. This punch was completely different from the one that had tied up Night Sorrow. The rules and power that it contained were extremely terrifying. Clan. Chapter 30-37. After witnessing Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign's move, Night Sorrow realized the gap between him and an earthly sovereign. At the same time he ordered Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer to think of a way to break the array. They wanted to take advantage of the battle between Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign and Feng Wuji to find a way to escape. The moonlight shrouding net had lost the direct control of Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign and its power was obviously weaker. However, in the next moment, something happened that made Night Sorrow completely dumbfounded. After Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign had made a probing attack, Feng Wuji, who had suddenly struck out, had turned Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign into nothingness. In an instant the moonlight shrouding net had completely lost control. Damn. He killed an earthly sovereign with one move. This is a ruthless person. He is definitely not an earthly sovereign. When the moonlight shrouding net had lost control, Little Seven immediately realized that Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign's spiritual soul had been destroyed. The elites of the four great sanctuaries are indeed incomparable to ordinary territories. Seeing that Feng Wuji had killed Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign with one move, Night Sorrow suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. In the hands of Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign, they could not escape. In the face of such a powerful Feng Wuji, there was even less of a chance. "Master, what should we do? Should we really self-destruct? Why don't we seek refuge with this elite?" Baiyu, who had been silent all this while, immediately tried to persuade Night Sorrow when she saw how powerful Feng Wuji was. "I don't think you should be called Baiyu. You should be called Nephrite." Hearing Baiyu's words, Little Seven immediately said with disdain, "Hee, Nephrite is a good name." At this moment, Feng Wuji, who had already retracted his murderous aura, smiled. As for Yi Shang, he saw a trace of complicated emotions in Feng Wuji's eyes. "Oh, what's going on?" Night Sorrow remembered that Feng Wuji had started to target him when the Battle of Providence had just begun. He did not know why he had such a complicated look in his eyes now. "Night Sorrow, come out and talk." Feng Wuji looked at Little Seven and said, "What are you trying to say?" Night Sorrow asked coldly after coming out of the pagoda. Facing such a powerful Feng Wuji, he would not be able to escape no matter what. He no longer had any thoughts of escaping. Now he was thinking about how to let Little Seven, White Jade, and the restriction-breaking hammer escape. He did not want them to self-destruct, but he also did not want them to fall into Feng Wuji's hands. "What I want to say is that you don't have to think too much. You don't need to do that when you're facing me." Feng Wuji had an amiable smile on his face. This kind of smile was different from the cold indifference he showed to others. Seeing the friendly smile on Feng Wuji's face, Night Sorrow was puzzled. He had no idea why Feng Wuji, who had a grudge against the Firmament territory, would treat him in such a manner. At this time, Feng Wuji smiled and said, "Next I will tell you a secret, but you cannot tell anyone about it, including the people of the God Realm's territory." "Alright, go ahead." Yi Shang was at a complete loss. He didn't know what Feng Wuji was trying to do, so he could only reply in agreement. "Back then, I was ambushed by a spy from the Firmament territory in the Supreme Space and was poisoned by a strange poison that was difficult to cure. Then, I was surrounded by dozens of Supremes. At that time, there were at least 800 Supremes if not 1,000. However, I did not die. Instead, I successfully possessed Feng Wuji in the chaotic battle. At this point you should know who I am, right?" After Feng Wuji finished speaking, his face immediately changed into a scholarly look. Night Sorrow took a closer look, and his eyes instantly moistened. The person in front of him was none other than Supreme Longevity. "Senior Longevity, I didn't expect you to survive and possess Feng Wuji. After Supreme Longevity recovered his appearance, he also completely recovered his original aura. This aura was exactly the same as the image that the Horned Supreme summoned. So, if not for that battle back then, I might not have been stuck at the Sky Supreme level for the rest of my life. Feng Wuji's body is not talented enough. It can't advance any further. Supreme Longevity sighed and continued, the future of the firmament and the eternal supreme world still rests on your shoulders. I lost the chance to advance to the supreme realm, but you have it. Senior, you flatter me. Night Sorrow said humbly. Then he asked, Senior Changxing, is there no other way? Can you take over someone else's body? I can possess someone else, but I can't find a suitable body at the moment. There are simply too few bodies in the world that can advance to the supreme realm. Even among the 4 sacred grounds, it's hard to find one. You're the only one in all these years. Supreme Longevity sighed. Mu Tianya's body can't do it either? He should be from the fog region. Night Sorrow asked curiously. Mu Tianyi was ultimately a ticking time bomb. You would not be happy if he did not get rid of him. You mean him? He's just trash. At most, he can advance to the Earth Supreme level. Supreme Longevity pulled Mu Tianyi out of the space grotto. Before the battle with you earthly sovereign Changsheng had dispersed the crowd. However, he had secretly taken control of Mu Tianyi and did not give him a chance to escape. The moment he was thrown to the ground, Mu Tianyi looked at Supreme Longevity and said, Supreme Longevity, I didn't expect you to be so scheming. You've been hiding under the identity of Feng Wuji. Many territories have attacked the firmament territory, but you didn't help at all. You evil spirit, do you really think that you're from Tianshao territory? Know your place. You're just an evil spirit from the fog region. Who are you to meddle in the affairs of the firmament territory? Supreme Changxing said disdainfully before crushing Mu Tianyi into pieces. Then he threw the space grotto to Night Sorrow and said, All these years I've been helping the firmament territory secretly, but I've never shown myself. Because there are spies in the firmament territory, and there's more than one. When you return to the firmament territory in the future, you must be careful. Now I can confirm that the spy is the governor of the firmament city. But I've already killed him. What? The governor of the firmament city is a spy? Hearing this, Night Sorrow was shocked. So the governor had already been killed. No wonder no one could find him. Don't be surprised. My judgment won't be wrong. He was the one who poisoned me back then. If not for him, no one else could have poisoned me so easily. Supreme Longevity said with a sigh. The governor of the firmament territory was the deputy governor of the firmament territory. He was also Supreme Longevity's most trusted person. It was also him who poisoned Supreme Longevity. However, after he poisoned Supreme Longevity, he did not steal Supreme Longevity's body's laws and essence. He did not advance to the Earth's supreme level. Under his leadership, the firmament territory gradually declined to the state it was today. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3038. Senior Longevity. The 2 Vice City Lords of the God World are also missing. They said they went to look for the City Lords. Are they also? Night Sorrow asked. He didn't finish his sentence. They aren't traitors, but they are juniors. They don't know what happened back then. However, they are trapped in a secret realm in the supreme space. Their situation isn't good. They need you to rescue them. Supreme Longevity said slowly after hearing Night Sorrow's words. Oh? Where are the 2 Vice City Lords trapped? Night Sorrow asked curiously. Now that the God World had lost its backbone, Supreme Longevity shouldn't be exposed even though he had appeared. Night Sorrow felt that if he could rescue the 2 Vice City Lords, the God World's strength would definitely increase. In addition, the God World had won the battle for Providence. They didn't have to worry about Providence for the time being. If they didn't go to a public place like the Supreme Space, they could rest and recuperate for many years. The secret realm they are trapped in is called the Big and Small Grotto Heavens. It's a chain trap array. However, there are good opportunities inside. If you can get the resources inside, you should be able to break through to the supreme level. Supreme Longevity continued, however, their lives aren't in danger now. Let's think about other things first. Senior Longevity, please speak. Night Sorrow looked at him. Towards someone like Longxing Supreme who had made great contributions to the divine realm, he held reverence in his heart. This had nothing to do with cultivation. It was about feelings. Night Sorrow felt that. Being a person, or rather, as a cultivator, feelings for the country were very important. And Longsheng Supreme was clearly someone who could take on such responsibilities. If it wasn't for the accident back then, he would have led the God world to stand at the peak of the eternal supreme world. No need to be so serious. Although we are from different eras, we should still be friends. Supreme Longevity smiled and said, "Next, I will impart to you a few mystiques." Mystiques? Night Sorrow looked at him in confusion. The Supreme Longevity explained, "Mystiques are the inherited secret techniques of each territory. What I'm going to impart to you is the God world's inherited secret technique, God's Finger, as well as the 9 mystical territories' inherited secret skill, Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow. Arcane Shadows was the best movement technique in the Eternal Sovereign World. As for the Divine Finger, it is the secret skill with the strongest attack power." Inherited secret technique? So the God Realm's inherited secret techniques haven't been lost? Yishan said in shock. He didn't expect the Supreme Longevity to know the secret technique of the Divine World's territory, and even control the secret technique of the 9 mystical territories. "I'm probably one of the people who know the secret techniques of the God Realm. There will be another you in the future. As for the Mysterious Sky Shadow, don't use it unless it's a life-saving situation." After Changxing said that, he extended a finger and tapped Night Sorrow's forehead. In an instant, 2 sparkling and translucent runes appeared in Yishang's mind. After absorbing these 2 runes, Night Sorrow didn't even need to comprehend them. He directly learned the God's Finger and Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow that Supreme Longevity had imparted to him. These 2 mystiques are indeed amazing. After Night Sorrow learned these 2 mystiques, his movement technique and attack power improved tremendously. If you are smart enough, you can combine these 2 mystiques to create a new ultimate technique. Then you can use it as you wish. Supreme Longevity added, "As a matter of fact, there are over 10,000 realms in the Eternal Supreme World. Legend has it that if you can combine the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories, it will become the strongest technique in the world. However, how can it be possible to obtain the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories? Combining the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories, this is indeed something that I don't even dare to think about." Night Sorrow smiled, but his heart was shaken. Yes. Only by combining tens of thousands of Daos can one become the strongest. Supreme Longevity finished and sighed. If the territories of the Eternal Sovereign World can put aside their selfishness and contribute all their mystiques, perhaps when the great calamity comes, our Eternal Sovereign World will have a chance. However, there will always be black sheep in the world. Defecting to the enemy or being selfish. This idea is an impossible dream. Yes. Although I haven't been in the Eternal Sovereign World for long, I can see that this place is definitely not a monolithic block. When the great calamity comes, who knows what will happen? Night Sorrow agreed. From the battle for Providence, he realized that most of the territories in the Eternal Sovereign World had evil intentions. When it comes to the great calamity, the Eternal Sovereign World can only rely on its looks. As for you, you are a variable. You have the potential to reach the Supreme Realm, but time is a problem. Supreme Longevity said. Then he continued, "Although I am not sure of the exact time, that day is not too far away. What you need to do now is to quickly increase your strength and lead the territories in the God world to increase their strength. If the Eternal Sovereign World cannot save them, we will think of a way to save the God world." Alright. In that case, Senior Longevity, I will first return to the God world to take a look. After that, I will rescue the 2 Vice City Lords and strive to become a Supreme while rescuing them. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Supreme Longevity and prepared to head to the teleportation portal. At this moment, Supreme Longevity said, "If you want to increase your strength quickly, the fog is a good place. The white jade on you can help you to calm your mind and ensure that you will not be affected by the normal fog." Alright. After rescuing the 2 Vice City Lords, I will go to the fog to cultivate. Night Sorrow nodded at Supreme Longevity and flew to the teleportation portal. He looked at the other party and asked, "Senior Longevity, if I take these rewards away, won't I expose your identity?" "No worries. I have a solution." Supreme Longevity Immortal smiled and turned back into Feng Wuji, disappearing from the world. Strong. Really strong. He should be one of the best among the Sky Supremes. It's just that he did not have the chance to reach the Supreme Realm. What a pity. After Supreme Longevity transformed into Feng Wuji and left, Little Seven could not help but sigh. When Supreme Longevity was around, it was suppressed to the point that it did not dare to speak. Baiyu was the same. After Supreme Longevity left, he exclaimed, I can't believe I have such a use. I can be used to resist the fog. Originally, Baiyu thought that he was just a useless piece of jade that could only be used to cultivate his mind. Now he was very surprised. He felt that he had become a useful piece of jade. No one can be compared to your effectiveness. I will have to rely on you when I go to the fog in the future. Otherwise, I might be affected by the fog too. I might turn into a bloodthirsty monster. Night Sorrow said to Baiyu, then activated the teleportation portal and returned to the God world. Clan M. Chapter 30-39. Night Sorrow stepped out of the teleportation circle and appeared in the teleportation circle of Peace City. There was no one around the teleportation circle. Night Sorrow used his divine soul to check and found that there were no cultivators in Peace City except for some guards. He then used his divine soul to check and found that Prime Golden Crow was still sitting at the gate of Peace City. Therefore Yishang flew towards the gate of Pingyan City. Prime Golden Crow. Where are the people in Peace City? Yishang asked doubtfully after arriving beside the Golden Crow Paragon. They have all returned to the realm of the gods to celebrate. Our realm of the gods has won the battle of Providence. This is great news and worth celebrating. Prime Golden Crow waited for Night Sorrow to speak before he looked at him and said with a smile. I see. That's good to hear. Night Sorrow was relieved when he heard this. He thought that something had happened to the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow. This time, the realm of the gods has resolved the crisis and achieved such a good result. You have contributed greatly. I thank you on behalf of everyone in the realm of the gods. While saying this, the Golden Crow stood up from the ground and prepared to bow. Night Sorrow quickly stopped him. Senior Golden Crow, please don't do this. This is what Night Sorrow should do. I can't accept your great gift. Of course. If it weren't for you, the providence of our realm of the gods would have been depleted. By then, we would have become the prey of the other territories. Prime Golden Crow sighed and continued, everyone is celebrating. You should go back to the realm of the gods. After all, you are the main character. Senior Golden Crow, now that the providence of our realm of the gods has increased by so much, the other territories wouldn't dare to invade us. Why don't you go back and celebrate with everyone? Night Sorrow invited. He had to go back. At the very least, he had to see his wife Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. He had to figure out what had happened between the two of them. I won't go back. You can go back and celebrate. I will continue to stand guard here for everyone. After saying that, the Golden Crow sat on the ground again and closed his eyes to rest. Then I'll take my leave. Night Sorrow said as he looked at the back of the Golden Crow. He then flew towards the celestial realm from Peace City. Along the way he did not meet any cultivators. It was clear that most of the cultivators in the Divine World were gathered in the Divine World cities. As expected, when Night Sorrow flew back to the outskirts of the Divine World City, he used his divine sense to investigate and found that it was indeed the case. At this time, 2 large red lanterns were hung high above the city gate, looking very festive. As for the city, there were cheers and laughter everywhere. This was something that had never happened in the Divine World City for tens of thousands of years. Seeing everyone's smiles, Night Sorrow suddenly felt that everything he had done was worth it. However, when he thought of the few Lemmeter creatures in the foggy area, his fighting spirit rose once again. He thought to himself, no matter what, I have to protect the Divine World and my family and friends. Night Sorrow did not have deep feelings for the Eternal Supreme World. However, the Divine World and its territories were too important to him. The degree of importance could be compared to his life. I feel that your friends aren't very loyal to their friends. You narrowly escaped death and they actually came back to celebrate like this. At this time Little Seven said unhappily. Everyone should be happy and celebrate after winning the championship. Besides, this is definitely not their idea. Yishang smiled and used the power of his divine soul to sweep towards the City Lord's mansion. At this time, in the City Lord mansion, some of the important supremes of the Divine World territory were present. Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, and others were also present. Many of the supremes were in a good mood, especially the White Tiger who kept saying something. However, Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Wu Lingfei, and others did not look too good. Night Sorrow glanced and realized that they should be unhappy because of his matter. He transmitted his voice to Little Seven and said, "Look at you, gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. All right. They are quite loyal." Little Seven also glanced and said faintly, "It had the strength of an Earth Supreme." Even the Supremes of the Divine World territory did not sense it. However, when Night Sorrow was probing the City Lord mansion, he was sensed by Supreme Ancestor Phoenix. When Supreme Ancestor Phoenix sensed this aura, he immediately flew out of the City Lord mansion. Good. Seeing that it was Night Sorrow standing outside the City Lord mansion, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said 3 good words in a row. Then he said excitedly, "Night Sorrow, I am so happy that you can come back. Without you, this celebration ceremony would have no meaning at all. Follow me in." "All right." Night Sorrow replied and did not refuse. In front of him was some rare time as a cultivator. After resting for a while, he would once again embark on his journey. After all, the 2 deputy city lords were still trapped in the big and small grotto heavens. And in the supreme space, there were many other supremes of the other territories who had sealed the divine world territory. It was not easy to break through their blockade. Night Sorrow, you're back. Is really you? That's great." When Night Sorrow followed Supreme Ancestor Phoenix into the City Lord mansion, Myriad Sword Sect was the first to stand up. Wu Lingfei, who originally had a gloomy expression, suddenly burst into tears. Hello everyone. I've returned safely." Night Sorrow smiled and greeted everyone, then walked to Wu Lingfei's side and sat down. For a moment, Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Murong Jinlu, and the others all became energetic and began to chat with him. What everyone asked was basically how Night Sorrow managed to survive and return. And Night Sorrow naturally would not reveal that Supreme Longevity had possessed Feng Wuji, so he casually made up a story. He said that Feng Wuji and Supreme Moonfeather's battle was too intense. In the situation where they were locked in battle, he used the restriction-breaking hammer to break the seal and successfully escaped through the teleportation array. Everyone who could not think of any other possibility naturally believed it. Then, under the auspices of Supreme Ancestor Phoenix, everyone began to enjoy a celebratory feast. When the celebratory feast was over, Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Go and see Jing Yun. She heard that you didn't return and became depressed. She locked herself in the house and refused to come out." "All right. I'll go and see her, then we'll settle the matter between us," Yi Shang said as he walked towards the courtyard where Jing Yun was. Before they even arrived, he had already used the power of his divine sense to scan them. With this scan, he was instantly enraged. At this moment, Jing Yun was sitting in the house with a gloomy expression. In her courtyard, there was a black shadow that was preparing to launch a sneak attack on her. Genius memorized this address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 30-40. Moreover, this black figure clearly had the aura of a supreme martial artist. If not for Night Sorrow's arrival, Jing Yun would have been killed. To attack Night Sorrow's family in the realm of gods, needless to say, this supreme martial artist must have been bribed by people from other territories. While Night Sorrow was furious, he was not willing to give him a chance to attack. He immediately used the divine finger on him. This was a divine ability that he had just learned from the Supreme Longevity. With a point of his finger, a pale blue light pillar immediately blasted out. "Who's there?" The black-clothed supreme martial artist, who was about to attack Jing Yun, immediately frowned as he noticed Night Sorrow's attack. However, just as he was about to counterattack, his dantian was directly shattered by this finger. "Who's there? I should be the one asking you these 3 words." Night Sorrow's attack succeeded and did not give the other party any chance to escape or even self-destruct. He immediately sealed his soul and broke his disguise. After breaking his disguise, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. The black-clothed supreme martial artist in front of him was actually the Silver Spear Supremacy, Yang Tianqing. "Tell me, why did you attack my family?" Before the fight for Providence, the Silver Spear Supremacy, Yang Tianqing, had taught Night Sorrow the Yang's heaven-splitting art. This move had helped Night Sorrow many times in the future battles. For a moment, Night Sorrow could not accept it. Winner takes all, what's there to say? Yang Tianqing, whose dantian had been destroyed, revealed a cold smile on his face. There was no longer the fierce and peaceful look on his face. It was completely occupied by ruthlessness. "What's going on? Husband, you're back." At this moment, Jing Yun, who had been startled by the sound, came back to her senses and walked out of the room. Seeing Night Sorrow return, she immediately burst into tears like Wu Lingfei. "Jing Yun, we'll talk about our matters later. This person in front of you wanted to launch a sneak attack on you just now. We have to interrogate him clearly," Night Sorrow said coldly. "Senior Silver Spear Supremacy Yang Tianqing? How is this possible?" When Jing Yun saw that the black-clothed man was Yang Tianqing, a look of disbelief appeared on her face. Nothing is impossible. If I hadn't arrived in time, you might have already been killed, Night Sorrow said with lingering fear. When she heard this, Jing Yun frowned and said, "Why don't we hand him over to Exalt Zhu Feng and the others for interrogation? I'm afraid it's not appropriate for us to interrogate him alone." "All right." Night Sorrow replied and transmitted his voice to Supreme Ancestor Phoenix. When Paragon Ancestor Phoenix arrived and saw what was happening, she immediately transmitted a message to the other paragons in the God world. When these supreme beings arrived, they couldn't believe their eyes. No one believed that the Silver Spear Paragon Yang Tianqing would do such a thing. However, Night Sorrow cultivated the power of virtue and never spoke nonsense. Naturally, they would not doubt Night Sorrow. "Everyone, bring him back to the City Lord Mansion for interrogation." When the numerous supreme beings arrived, Supreme Being Zhu Feng immediately gave the order to bring Yang Tianqing back to the City Lord's mansion. Then, she and the other supreme beings began to interrogate him. During the process of interrogating Yang Tianqing, Night Sorrow did not participate. After going through a series of battles, he was a little tired. That night, he talked to Jing Yun for a while before resting with her. The next morning, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix came to look for Night Sorrow. He told her the whole story. It turned out that the Silver Spear Paragon Yang Tianqing had already defected to a subordinate territory of the Moon Shadow territory. He had received the order to kill Night Sorrow's family. After saying this, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix asked, "Night Sorrow, how do you think we should deal with him? Kill him directly or what?" Senior Ancestor Phoenix, just make the arrangements. However, since such a thing happened in the God world, we must be more vigilant in the future. After saying this, Night Sorrow asked, "By the way, Senior Ancestor Phoenix, how is the matter in the Supreme Space? Are there people from other territories waiting for us?" Such a thing happening in the main city of the God world gave him a very bad feeling. Night Sorrow wanted to quickly rescue the two deputy city lords and return to take charge of the situation. "So, don't mention it. A few days ago we sent people to investigate. As soon as they entered the Supreme Space, they were killed by people from other territories. They've gone too far," Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said with a gloomy face. "Senior Ancestor Phoenix, how many supreme beings are there and how strong they are?" Night Sorrow continued to ask in detail. "I'm not sure about their specific strength. There are about 20 to 30 of them. They are scattered outside the passage of our God world territory. If many of us enter, they will immediately gather a large number of supreme beings, making it impossible for us to go in." Supreme Ancestor Phoenix sighed. Now in the God world territory, the strength of the sovereigns had increased qualitatively. Other than Night Sorrow, everyone who participated in the battle for Providence had advanced to the half-step supreme being level. This was something unimaginable in the past. "Senior Ancestor Phoenix, I'm clear about the matter. You have worked hard," Night Sorrow said and sent Supreme Ancestor Phoenix away. Then he gathered everyone who participated in the battle for Providence in Jing Yun's small courtyard. After setting up the defense, he said, "I'm sure you all are clear about what happened to Jing Yun. Now in the God world territory, I'm afraid there aren't many people who can be trusted. I can only trust you all. In a few days I will enter the Supreme Space to investigate. But I don't feel at ease asking other Supreme Beings to come with me. Who among you is willing to take the risk with me?" Everyone in front of him had gone through life and death together. Night Sorrow trusted them. "I'm willing." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Myriad Sword Sect was the first to answer. He didn't have any consideration, so he answered faster than anyone else. After Myriad Sword Sect finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian also responded, "Of course I'm willing." At this time Murong Zhenlu said with a smile, "Haha, Night Sorrow, you should be the one who's unwilling, right? We are all brothers who have gone through life and death together. Naturally we will enjoy blessings and endure hardships together." "That's right, we are all willing to fight side by side with you." Yuan Fengxue also nodded. Her statement was quickly affirmed by the others. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Night Sorrow said in a good mood, "Then let's completely form a gold team. Let's stand side by side. However, if a worker wants to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. It's time for me to distribute the champion's reward to everyone." "No, you were the one who fought for the championship. You keep it to break through to the Supreme Realm." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jin Xian immediately retorted. Like Jin Xian, the others were not willing to accept the gift. After all, Night Sorrow had chosen to let them recover their strength in front of Yen Hengshi, and everyone had already taken advantage of it once. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to get this championship. Everyone should share it together. As for me advancing to the Supreme Realm, it should be in the Supreme Space. Night Sorrow recalled what the Supreme Longevity had said and guessed that he should be able to advance to the Supreme Realm in the Big and Small Grotto Heavens. Clan M. Chapter 30-41. At this time Xiao Tianxian said, "How about this? Jing Yun's strength is relatively weak. Let her absorb these resources and strive to advance to half-step Supreme Being. Strive to catch up to us and advance in the Grotto Heavens together." Yes, that's fine. It's already a pity that she didn't participate in the War of Providence. This time we must make up for this regret. Let's go together. Hearing Xiao Tianxuan's words, Yuan Fengxue immediately agreed. At this time she stood together with Wu Lingfei and Jing Yun. Not good. This is not good. I didn't do anything. I can't enjoy the rewards alone. Jing Yun embarrassedly declined. No need to be embarrassed. Our strength has reached a bottleneck. Relying on these rewards alone, we can't advance to Supreme Being. You can use these resources to cultivate at ease. Seeing that Jing Yun was unwilling to accept the resources, Wu Lingfei immediately persuaded. Then Murong Jinlu and the others also persuaded her. In the end, Jing Yun accepted the Supreme Being and Earth Supreme Being's law and essence. Night Sorrow, when are we leaving? After Jing Yun accepted the things and began cultivating, Myriad Sword Sect asked with interest. No hurry. We just returned. Someone must be watching us. Currently, there must be a traitor in the realm of the gods. We need to wait for the other party to lower their vigilance before leaving. Night Sorrow said and continued, we need to create the illusion that everyone is trying to advance to Supreme Being. Then, sneak into the Supreme Being space. What we need now is the map of the Supreme Being space. Otherwise we will be very blind when we enter. Leave the map to me. I can handle it. My grandfather definitely has it. Jin Xian said and continued, do you want me to go get it now? Go. I'm not suitable to go with you. Brother Wan will go with you. However, you don't just need to get the map. You also need to set up a few teleportation formations in the hunting area. Night Sorrow looked at Jin Xian and said. Then Jin Xian and Myriad Sword Sect went to P City together. According to Night Sorrow's instructions, they set up the teleportation formations. The teleportation formations were naturally used by Night Sorrow to shake off some Supreme Beings. After the two of them left, Jing Yun entered a state of cultivation. As for the champion's reward that Night Sorrow had brought back, to a lesser dominator, it was simply heaven-defying. After absorbing for more than a month, she had directly advanced to the middle-level dominator rank. This speed of improvement didn't seem like something a sovereign could achieve. It was precisely because her strength had increased too quickly that Jing Yun's state of mind was somewhat affected, and she did not dare to continue cultivating like this. At this rate, she should be able to reach half-martial highness in less than 3 years. This cultivation speed was like that of a low-level cultivator who had just started cultivating. This wasn't something a ruler should have. After Jing Yun told Night Sorrow about her state of mind, Night Sorrow smiled and said, you don't have to feel burdened. Look at how many years we've been participating in the Battle of Providence. I've already advanced from the Divine King to a half-step Supreme. Although you've improved a lot after we left, the gap is still very obvious. Therefore, it shouldn't be a problem for me to quickly increase my strength. Is that so? In the divine world, anyone who could advance to the dominator rank within a few epochs was a top genius. At the Eternal Supreme level, with the support of large amounts of resources, the speed of advancing to the dominator rank was more than 1,000,000 times faster. At this time, Jing Yun was still somewhat confused and felt that everything was too dreamy. Jing Yun. It's like this in the Eternal Supreme world. If you can't keep up with the pace, you'll be eliminated. The speed of improvement here is faster than in the divine world because this world is more advanced and more cruel. After Night Sorrow said this, he continued, to tell you the truth, it won't be long before the Eternal Supreme world welcomes a terrifying calamity. Do you know how strong our opponents are? Not Supremes, not Earth Supremes, not Sky Supremes, but Ultimate Supreme. Imagine how big the difference is. If we don't quickly increase our strength, how can we fight against them? Night Sorrow. Is what you said true? Hearing this, Xiao Tianxian and the others all became solemn. This was no ordinary matter. Every word is true and the source is very reliable. The enemies we are about to face are from the same era as Yen Hengshi. Moreover, in the last great calamity he had killed Yen Hengshi and severely injured another senior. Moreover, they killed all the other experts in the eternal supreme world and absorbed all their energy. The people in our eternal paragon realm are all newly matured. Night Sorrow said with a solemn expression. The three sovereigns in the foggy area were definitely the greatest threat to the eternal supreme world. Originally, Night Sorrow didn't want to talk about this matter in detail, but because of Jing Yun's cultivation he couldn't help but say it. By the time Yi Shang had finished explaining the matter, no one present said a word. They knew the seriousness of this matter. After a long silence, Jing Yun broke the silence and said, I understand. I won't be a burden to everyone anymore. After saying that, Jing Yun returned to the secret chamber to cultivate. A year later, Jing Yun successfully advanced to an intermediate dominator. 2.5 years later she successfully advanced to an upper dominator. At this time, Jing Yun originally wanted to continue cultivating, but Jin Xian and Myriad Sword Master returned, indicating that the matter had been settled. Thus, Night Sorrow called Jing Yun out of her cultivation state. He said to everyone, this time, we are going to the Grotto Heaven to save the 2 deputy city lords. However, there are traitors in the Divine World territory, so we need to do it secretly. Everyone follow me to the hunting area. Let's get rid of some of the spies. The others present didn't say much, but they were full of fighting spirit. Then Night Sorrow led them into the hunting area. The hunting area was a barrier that Supremes couldn't easily attack, but if they just stepped in, it wasn't a big deal. Night Sorrow and the others had just entered when someone followed them. Someone is following us. It should be Supreme Lu Ha. We are fully capable of killing him. But there's no need. We have to create the illusion that we have entered the forbidden area. And use the teleportation array to leave. If our true destination is exposed, there will definitely be many Supremes in the Supreme Space to kill us. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he led everyone into the forbidden area. This time, when he entered the forbidden area again, he felt completely different from the last time. Those golden wild beasts that had been difficult to deal with in the past were no longer a threat in his eyes. However, when he saw the stone coffin in the forbidden area again, he still felt that he couldn't see through it. Because of this, he didn't meet the Supremes who had helped him before. However, the eggs that he had come into contact with had already hatched. After he found them, he gave them some resources. Then, he kept everyone in the Grotto Heaven, used the concealment rune and left the forbidden area. Chapter 3042. When Night Sorrow led the group out of the forbidden zone, the supreme beings outside were still monitoring them. Moreover, 3 of them appeared at once. Aren't they afraid of being exposed for spying on us so blatantly? Wan Jianzong, who was hiding in Night Sorrow's space Grotto Heaven, said unhappily when he saw the supreme beings after Night Sorrow's reminder. Hearing this, Night Sorrow sneered. Do you think it's a good thing to join other territories? They must have made some kind of oath that they must do whatever the other party asks of them. Pitiful people must have something to hate. Wan Jianzong said disdainfully. If the heavenly realm wasn't facing a crisis, they wouldn't have made such a choice. At that time, the heavenly realm was in danger. It's understandable that they joined other territories. Night Sorrow glanced at the 3 supreme beings who didn't notice him and said coldly, it's understandable but unforgivable. Yes, absolutely unforgivable. Yuan Fengshue said disdainfully. Most of the cultivators were very righteous. They could not accept the act of betraying their own territory. What's our next step? At this time, Xiao Tianxian asked. Just in case, we'll use the teleportation portal. After a few teleportations, we'll go to the Supreme Space. Everyone be careful. When we reach the Supreme Space, we might encounter the Supreme Beings of other territories. A battle will be unavoidable. Moreover, the other party should be Supreme Beings whose cultivation realm is higher than ours. When we fight, we must ensure our own safety. Night Sorrow said and led the group to use the teleportation portal. They teleported 7 to 8 times in a row. They successfully appeared at the entrance of the Supreme Space. At this time, there was no one at the entrance of the Supreme Space. This was normal. After all, the heavenly realm was targeted by other territories. As long as they entered the Supreme Space, they would be intercepted and killed. This also caused the heavenly realm's territory to not have anyone enter the Supreme Space for many years. Let's go. After so many years, no one has entered. The Supremes of the other territories should have relaxed their guard by now. After all, they still have to cultivate. Seeing that there was no one at the entrance of the Supreme Space, Xiao Tianxian said. Something's not right. At this moment Yishang's brows furrowed. He discovered that there were several image crystals at the entrance of the sovereign space. Although Night Sorrow had a concealment rune on his body, this kind of image crystal could record the patterns of energy fluctuations. Upon closer inspection, there was definitely someone who had entered. After Night Sorrow told them about the image crystal, Master of 10,000 Swords said, "What's there to be afraid of? By the time they realize that we've been here, everyone will be long gone. It won't delay the rescue. But after being discovered, it will be very difficult for us to come back," Night Sorrow said with a frown. If the hostile forces found out about their entry, they would definitely arrange for many supreme beings to block their way back. Then it would be difficult for the people in front of him to come back. That is a problem. Destroying the crystal won't work either, Yuan Fengxue said with a frown. These few image crystals had become a problem. At this moment, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Restriction Breaker and Little Seven. Do you have any ideas? The image crystals set up by the enemy look very simple, but they are made by an Earth Supreme Being, so it won't be so easy to destroy. After observing for a while, Little Seven said. Restriction Breaker's male hammer also said, "That's right. It's easy to destroy them, but it's almost impossible to do so without alerting the enemy, unless they have the strength of a Sky Supreme Being." Forget it. In that case we'll just go in like this. We'll talk about it when we come back. Maybe when we become Supreme Beings, the Supreme Beings from the other territories will be useless. Indeed, there was no other way. Night Sorrow, who did not want to waste any more time, did not hesitate and directly entered the sovereign space. After entering the sovereign space, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to everyone. There should be many Supreme Beings from the enemy territories nearby. There are too many people, so I won't let everyone out for now. All right. You have the best movement technique, the strongest strength, and the eye of the Mirage Dragon. You should hurry, Jin Xian said as he handed the map to Night Sorrow. The big and small grotto heavens are not too far away from us. If nothing unexpected happens, we can reach it in 3 months. Night Sorrow scanned the map with his divine spirit and memorized everything on it. In the sovereign space he directly flew in that direction. Below them there were some unknown tall ancient trees. In the ancient trees, there were many sovereign-level ferocious beasts. Some of the ferocious beast kings even had the strength of a supreme being. Night Sorrow used the eye of the Mirage Dragon to observe and found that there were many supreme being spiritual herbs nearby. However, he did not go down to snatch them. For the people of the heavenly realm, if they wanted to further strengthen their foundation, they would have to absorb as many Earth Supreme Being items as possible. Therefore, in Night Sorrow's opinion, although Supreme Being items could be absorbed, they were not necessary. This sovereign space doesn't look that scary. After flying safely for 5 days, Master Wan Jian in the grotto heaven sighed. Yishang chuckled and said, "That's nothing. According to the map, we won't be able to reach the end of the sovereign space even if we fly for hundreds of years. The area is huge, what we see now is only the tip of the iceberg. Moreover, there are too many supreme beings targeting our heavenly realm, so there are too many ferocious beasts around. Therefore, we didn't encounter any danger after flying for 5 days." That's true. Master Wan Jian transmitted his voice. The others also laughed and chatted. Fellow Taoist, please wait. However, just as they were chatting, a shout suddenly came from not far away. It was the voice of a male cultivator, but it sounded very strange, like the roar of a wild beast. "What can I do for you?" Night Sorrow turned to look at the other party. It was a cultivator with a human body and a leopard head. His aura indicated that he should be an intermediate supreme being. Half-step supreme being? You're not even a supreme being, why did you enter the sovereign space? Aren't you afraid of dying here? Seeing that Night Sorrow was only a half-step supreme being, the leopard-head supreme being immediately asked doubtfully. He did not immediately show any hostility. "I'm afraid, but I want to advance to the supreme being level here. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." Night Sorrow replied and directly took his leave. The other party was most likely an enemy of the heavenly realm. He did not want to waste time talking, nor did he want to make a move for no reason and attract a large number of enemies. "Wait. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Are you feeling guilty? Are you from the heavenly realm?" Seeing that Night Sorrow wanted to leave, the leopard-head supreme being's eyes suddenly lit up. Clan M. Chapter 3043. It had been a long time since someone from the heavenly realm appeared in the supreme space. When he saw Night Sorrow, he subconsciously thought that he was from another territory like him. It's been a long time since someone from the heavenly realm appeared. I'm the same as you waiting here. But I didn't find anything, so I prepared to go to other areas to look for opportunities. Yishang's expression didn't change as he replied. There were many dangers in the sovereign space. He felt that it was better to avoid trouble, so he explained patiently. No. Your aura doesn't seem like you're from another territory. You're from the heavenly realm. Ah. Today I, Hu Bao, am in luck. Surrender now. Hu Bao laughed loudly, took out a Chong flute and blew it. Not good. He's summoning others. Let us go out and kill him together. Hearing the flute, Master Wan Jian immediately shouted. It's true that whatever you hate, you'll get it. But don't worry, I don't need you guys. Night Sorrow transmitted his voice and directly shot Hu Bao with the divine finger. It directly destroyed the Dantian of the intermediate supreme space. Divine finger? Isn't that a long-lost ability of the heavenly realm? You're really from the heavenly realm. And an important person. You can't escape, you can't escape. Hu Bao shouted angrily after his Dantian was destroyed. But by the time he said those words, Night Sorrow had already destroyed his deity ocean. Brother Yi. Amazing. A middle supremacy was actually insta-killed by you. Seeing that Yi Shang had killed the leopard fox in one move, the myriad sword sect's master in the heavenly abode praised. He originally thought that since they were all half-step supreme space, their strength should be about the same. But Night Sorrow's move just now made him give up on that idea. Not only did the gap between them not shrink, but it also widened. Xiao Tianxian asked curiously, Night Sorrow, what was that move just now? Its terrifying attack power is unheard of. This absolute art is called God's Finger. It's a long-lost divine ability of the God world. You can learn it after you've advanced to the supremacy stage. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to keep it. After all, if I learn this kind of divine ability, I have to prevent it from being leaked. As Night Sorrow spoke, he sped up. The identity he used was not the 9 mystical lands mystique, but it was derived from the 9 mystical lands mystique, mysterious sky shadow. It was called the secret shadow of God. This movement technique was much stronger than the profound sky dragon roaming steps. His speed had almost reached the level of a half-step earthly sovereign. However, although Night Sorrow's speed was fast, he was still quickly discovered by another supreme martial artist. After this supreme being discovered Night Sorrow, he didn't immediately attack. Instead, he transmitted his voice to the other supreme beings nearby. He wanted those people to cooperate with him and form an encirclement, preparing to surround Yi Chang. Clearly there were a lot of supreme beings in the vicinity. Otherwise they wouldn't have been able to surround them. This isn't good. I'm afraid we'll encounter a lot of supreme beings this time. Everyone should have a chance to come out and fight. After flying for about 2 days, Night Sorrow suddenly came to a conclusion. When he flew over a wasteland he realized that he had nowhere to go. He had been blocked by more than 10 supreme beings. If I'm not wrong, you're Night Sorrow, the one who shone in the battle of providence in the realm of gods, right? After a total of 13 supreme beings blocked Night Sorrow, a middle-aged scholarly male cultivator asked with a cold smile. It's me. What are you going to do? Night Sorrow didn't seem to know the other party's purpose. In fact, he was using the power of his godly soul to check if there were other supreme beings around. He didn't expect to be discovered so quickly. If he had known, he wouldn't have cared about the image crystal. If it's you, we've succeeded. Your bounty is a half-step earthly sovereign divine weapon. And a large amount of earthly sovereign rules and essence. A greedy look appeared on the scholarly man's face. Since you know that my bounty is high, why don't you think about whether you have the ability to take it? Night Sorrow looked at him coldly. This scholarly man was an upper supreme being, and the other supreme beings present were 5 intermediate supreme beings and 7 lower supreme beings. With such strength, Night Sorrow could deal with him if he used all his means. You're just a half-step supreme being, what's so difficult to deal with? Brothers, attack me. After we get the reward, we'll split it equally. The scholarly-looking cultivator roared and attacked together with the others. At this time, Night Sorrow transmitted to everyone, there must be a large number of supreme beings from other territories around. Everyone attack together and strive to win. After saying that, he released all the people from Myriad Sword Sect. At this time there were a total of 11 of them including Jing Yun. 11 against 13 they wouldn't lose in terms of numbers. Apart from Jing Yun, who was an upper supreme being, everyone else was a half-step supreme being. Although they were half-step supreme beings, 3 or 4 of them could cross realms and fight supreme beings. Although the others were slightly weaker than supreme beings, with the 3 of them working together, defeating an ordinary supreme being was not a problem at all. In this way the pressure left for Night Sorrow was much less. Originally there were 13 supreme beings all ready to attack him, but now there were only 5 supreme beings left, including the scholarly man. To ordinary cultivators, facing 5 supreme beings alone with a half-step supreme being was a nightmare for them. The scholarly man and the others also thought so. However, they soon realized that their way of thinking was completely wrong. Night Sorrow's strength was far stronger than they imagined. His true strength was close to half-step supreme being. Coupled with the golden heavenly halberd, he was simply unstoppable. In the process of the battle, the scholarly man and the others had already transmitted to the other supreme beings nearby. They knew that they couldn't take down Night Sorrow and the others at all. Therefore, as the battle progressed, Night Sorrow and the others found that although they were constantly killing supreme beings, the enemies were obviously increasing. Brother Yi, we can't go on like this. Although our strength is enough, we can't handle so many people. If this continues, the local supreme beings can't go more than 100. In the process of the battle, Murong Jinlu said with some worry. That's true. The enemy supreme beings are like ants, more and more. We can't continue to waste time. Night Sorrow, who had already killed more than 10 supreme beings, saw that the number of enemies had increased to more than 20. He was ready to completely explode. He immediately used the Treastrimsa battle secret technique and raised his aura to the strongest. And summoned Little Seven. He ordered, Little Seven, explode your ability and absorb all these people. As for the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, after the Battle of Providence ended, it had absorbed a large amount of Earth's Supreme Being's laws and essence and was in a deep sleep. It should be about to advance from Middle Supreme Being to Upper Supreme Being. Night Sorrow didn't disturb it. Clan M. Chapter 3044. Let me try. I don't know why, but I can feel a strong suppression in this sovereign space. I'm afraid I can't fully unleash the power of an earthly sovereign. After Little Seven was summoned, he immediately felt that something was wrong. After giving it a try, he realized that this was indeed the case. At most, he could only exert the power of a half-step earthly sovereign. It seems that Senior Longevity was defeated not only because he was poisoned or besieged, but also because of the suppression of the sovereign space. After hearing Little Seven's words, Night Sorrow immediately thought of the fall of Supreme Longevity. The suppression of the sovereign space was definitely a nightmare for Supreme Longevity. However, after Night Sorrow understood this, he immediately calmed down. With the suppression of the sovereign space, the earthly sovereigns from other territories wouldn't dare to appear. After all, those peerless experts treasured their own feathers. He didn't want to repeat the same mistake as Supreme Longevity. This way, Night Sorrow and the other earthly sovereigns in the realm of gods would have a much better living environment in the sovereign space. After all, without the existence of an earthly sovereign, Night Sorrow would soon have no natural enemies. Brother Yi, there are more and more enemies and many earthly sovereigns from other territories are rushing over. What should we do? Murong Guides, who was in the middle of the battle, saw Night Sorrow's eyes and knew that he was thinking about something. However, the current development of the battle was extremely disadvantageous for the people in the realm of gods. If the battle continued, they wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Injuries and even death were inevitable. It's okay, I haven't unleashed my full power yet. Night Sorrow replied to Murong Guides. Then he transmitted his voice to Little Seven. Since you can't unleash your full power, let's work together. I'll defeat one and you'll absorb one. Okay, that's easier. Little Seven replied excitedly after hearing Night Sorrow's words. You guys have bullied the realm of gods for long enough. From today onwards, this situation will completely change. Night Sorrow, who was holding the golden heavenly halberd, placed the small tower on his shoulder and completely activated the flames of the Phoenix battle armor. The Phoenix battle armor on his body had actually been damaged many times. However, the magical thing about it was that every time it was destroyed, it would successfully be reborn. Its strength now reached the level of a sovereign. Ah, ignorant junior. You think that you can shine in the fight for sovereign rank's destiny? You think you can wreak havoc in the sovereign space? If you focus on cultivating for a few eras, you might be able to. But Yu's wrongs came too early. Everyone attacked together. Today our priority is to kill this little bastard who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Zhu Xian sovereign space was surrounded the 9 sovereigns SSSSS spaces his sovereigns. Sovereigns at his command, est have A's sovereign heavens s sovereignty, s origin sovereigns A's his. After he spoke, a few sovereigns gave up on dealing with the others and surrounded Knight Sorrow. In an instant, the number of sovereigns surrounding him had increased to 7. Little bastard, you dare to kill Xian Qingyu of the 9's origin sovereign? Let's see how you'll die today. Supreme Zhu Xian, who was attacking Yi Shang with the other 6 9 Heavens Supremes, clenched his teeth and roared. He then executed an ultimate move at Yi Shang. Heavenly Heaven Slash. The half-step earthly sovereign Zhu Xian's attack was extremely powerful. He looked like he was going to fight with his life on the line. Amazing. How can we still attack? When Zhu Xian attacked, the other 6 sovereigns even forgot to attack. In their opinion, this attack had reached the limit of a sovereign's. And Knight Sorrow was a half-earth sovereign. Everyone felt that Knight Sorrow would definitely be killed by this attack. Knight Sorrow, be careful. This attack isn't simple. Little Seven, who was on Knight Sorrow's shoulder, also rose. It also realized the power of this attack. Don't worry, if it was in the past, I don't think it would be easy for you to take this attack. But now, I've already learned the 9's origin sovereign's divine ability. This attack of his is derived from the origin sovereign's divine ability. I can easily break it. Knight Sorrow, who had activated the Clam Dragon's Eye, could see that Zhu Xian's attack was derived from the 9's origin sovereign's divine ability, Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow. As the true wielder of the Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow, he naturally had an innate advantage against Zhu Xian's Heavenly Heaven Slash. You'll follow in Xian Qingyu's footsteps soon. Facing the Heavenly Heaven Slash, Knight Sorrow roared and attacked with the God's Spear. This move was developed from the fusion of the God's Finger and the Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow. In fact, the Eternal Sovereign's divine ability all came from the Myriad Tao divine ability. However, Knight Sorrow had not noticed this before. Now, the Black Heaven True Self Slash's ultimate technique made him realize this. God's Spear? Why does this move have the shadow of the Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow? Seeing Knight Sorrow unleash the God's Spear, Supreme Zhu Xian's pupils immediately constricted. However, this thought only flashed across his mind and he did not say it out loud. Knight Sorrow, who had successfully dodged the Heavenly Heaven Slash, pierced his Dantian with a spear. Although the power of this spear that Knight Sorrow had fused with was inferior to the God's Finger, its destructive power was similarly astonishing. It directly pierced through Supreme Zhu Xian's Fangyu robe and body. Impossible? How is this possible? Supreme Zhu Xian did not expect that Knight Sorrow had already grasped the core divine ability of the 9's origin sovereign. Having his Dantian pierced through in one strike, his face was filled with disbelief. Nothing is impossible. If I can kill Xian Qingyu, I have the ability to kill you. Knight Sorrow did not wish for Supreme Zhu Xian to reveal the secret. Without giving him a chance to continue speaking, he directly crushed his divine soul. Supreme Zhu Xian, who came from the 4 great holy lands, was completely killed by Knight Sorrow in a single exchange. This time, the rest of the supreme martial artists were completely shocked. They instantly understood that a ruthless person had appeared in the realm of the gods. And his current cultivation level was only half a step away from being a supreme. They did not dare to believe that when Knight Sorrow grew up and became a true supreme, what kind of combat power would he have? This Knight Sorrow is not easy to deal with. Summon the top supreme martial artists. After being stunned for a moment, the 6 supreme martial artists who were besieging Knight Sorrow began to communicate with each other through telepathy. Then they did not dare to be careless and attacked Knight Sorrow together. They wanted to win with numbers. Even Supreme Zhu Xian was killed in one strike. None of you are even half a step away from being an earthly sovereign. You still want to defeat me? After the small pagoda sucked Supreme Zhu Xian in, Knight Sorrow and the other 6 supreme martial artists began to fight. Although the other party had the advantage in numbers, he was not afraid. However, the problem now was that they could not continue to fight because the supreme martial artists from other territories were still rushing over. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. M. Chapter 3045. However, what surprised Knight Sorrow was that the other people in the heavenly realm were much stronger than he had imagined. Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian, who had been healed by Yen Hengshi, were not weaker than the other supreme martial artists. They were even more powerful than before. Furthermore, Myriad Sword Sect even killed an intermediate supreme martial artist one-on-one. Although Xiao Tianxian did not kill a supreme martial artist one-on-one, he was able to disintegrate one supreme martial artist. He had to use a secret technique to barely escape. The other sovereigns were not as strong as the two of them, but everyone, including Jing Yun, was very valiant. Their combat power had increased by a lot. Especially Wu Lingfei, who was already vaguely catching up with Myriad Sword Sect and Xiao Tianxian. Facing a supreme martial artist alone, she was able to force him to retreat. Very good. Everyone's collective improvement is a rare good thing for the heavenly realm. While fighting, Night Sorrow was also paying attention to the other people in the heavenly realm, afraid that someone would be in danger. At first glance, he realized that he was worrying too much. After the baptism of the battle for Providence, the people in the heavenly realm had already grown into independent experts. If the original team participated in the battle for Providence, the heavenly realm would definitely be able to easily win the championship. Bastard, you dare to be distracted when fighting 1 against 6. Now, Night Sorrow was actually paying attention to the other people's battles in the battle. The few supreme martial artists who were fighting with him were completely enraged. One by one they used their ultimate skills to fight with their lives. Night Sorrow, be careful. Although the supreme martial artists were not as strong as Supreme Zhu Xian individually, the 6 of them were fighting with their lives on the line, so the threat was obviously greater than Supreme Zhu Xian. Little 7 immediately reminded him. No worries. Although there are 6 of them, they are not a whole. Just defeat them one by one. But time is tight, we can't waste too much time with them. Attack, it must be a fatal blow. After replying to Little 7, Yi Shan withdrew his consciousness. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, he used God's shadow to dodge the attacks. At the same time, he unleashed a divine essence trapping formation and divine finger at one of the primes. He cleanly shattered his dantian. God's finger? What he used seems to be the long-lost God's finger. Could he be the reincarnation of supreme longevity? Seeing Night Sorrow shattering a supreme martial artist's dantian from a distance, some of the supreme martial artists present, the divine ability of the realm of the gods had disappeared for many years. Now that it had appeared once again, they began to doubt it. Whether he is reincarnated or not, quickly. He can use divine abilities, but we can't. How are we going to fight him? After Yi Shang displayed the long-lost divine ability of the god realm, many supremes began to fear him. Their god. It was rumored that the divine finger was the strongest attack of the eternal supreme. No one could withstand it. No one wanted Night Sorrow to open a hole in their body. God, another. After Yi Shang heavily injured the supreme being in front of him, Little 7 let out a human-like laugh and put him into the small pagoda. He turned it into rules and essence. Then, when they fought Night Sorrow again, the remaining supreme martial artists changed their tactics. They no longer fought with their lives on the line. Instead, they fought with their lives on the line. However, Night Sorrow's combat power was almost at the level of a half-step earthly supreme. Even if they focused on defense, it would be difficult for them to resist him. It didn't take long for Night Sorrow to kill another 2 paragons. Now there were only 3 paragons left in front of Night Sorrow. The 3 of them exchanged glances. How could they possibly have the courage to continue fighting? The supreme martial artists who were fighting with the rest of the god world didn't notice Night Sorrow's situation at first. By the time they realized it, it was already too late. In the blink of an eye, Night Sorrow had killed 3 supreme martial artists. He killed every time he attacked. He was like a god of death. At this point, the supreme martial artists present were scared out of their wits. They all used their secret techniques to escape. Some of the supreme martial artists who had rushed over saw so many supreme martial artists running away, and they also ran away in fear. No one dared to continue fighting in the god world. Ah, Brother Yi, you are really brave. The power of the divine finger just now is amazing. The Myriad Sword Sect laughed loudly. After Night Sorrow's power, the battle became like this. At the same time, he was quite interested in the divine finger. The divine finger is a good thing. But a man's wealth is his own ruin. You should wait until you become a supreme martial artist and can take charge in the supreme space before you learn it. Night Sorrow could naturally see through the Myriad Sword Sect's thoughts and said with a smile. Ah, okay, I will wait for a while more. The Myriad Sword Sect also smiled. He was a little embarrassed that Night Sorrow had seen through his thoughts. At this time Yuan Fengshua laughed and said, Haha, it's okay. We are not in a hurry. If you are not strong enough to learn the divine finger, you will be targeted wherever you go. That's right. But if you encounter a dangerous situation, you have to fight with your lives on the line. I will teach you the divine finger in advance. This divine finger is very special and can only be taught one by one. But the advantage is that as long as you teach it, you will be able to learn it directly. Night Sorrow explained and continued, those weak supreme martial artists have escaped, but it doesn't mean that the others will not come. Let's go directly to the big and small grotto heavens. Okay. Let's enter your space grotto heaven again? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Wu Lingfei asked. Okay. My movement technique should be faster. After saying that, Night Sorrow kept everyone in the space grotto heaven and continued to rush to the big and small grotto heavens. Along the way they were summoned 3 times and each time, it was an earth-shattering battle. However, under Night Sorrow's continuous attacks, although the people of the heavenly realm were seriously exhausted and everyone, including Night Sorrow, was injured, no one died. Just like that, about 6 months later they successfully arrived at the periphery of the big and small grotto heavens. Something's not right. There is obviously something going on inside. Just as they approached the periphery of the big and small grotto heavens, Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong and quickly stopped. Using the eye of the sea serpent, he saw that there were many formations set up around the big and small grotto heavens. And there were a few supreme martial artists hiding around. These supreme martial artists were all lower-level martial artists. Their strength was not very strong, but they were good at hiding. Obviously they were hidden sentries. How can there be such a coincidence? We were just about to save people when we saw people coming to the big and small grotto heavens to look for opportunities. Master Wan Jian said unhappily. At this time he was still in Night Sorrow's space grotto heaven just like the others. There must be a rare treasure in the big and small grotto heavens that attracted some people here. I think this is our chance to become supreme martial artists. At this time, Night Sorrow recalled what Supreme Longevity said and said slowly. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 3046. It's a good thing that a treasure has appeared in the big and small grotto heavens. We can't be absent. Thousand Sword Master said excitedly when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Even in the grotto heaven, he could not suppress his desire to fight. He realized that after Night Sorrow's appearance, the strength of the people around him had increased by more than 1 level. It's a good thing. But looking at the situation in front of us, it might be a great danger. There must be many experts inside. Night Sorrow used the eye of the sea serpent to observe the formation in front of them for a long time. He was sure that the person who had set up the formation was at least a half-step earthly sovereign. Of course we're going in. Do we barge in or think of some other way? Thousand Sword Master asked. Xiao Tianxian and the rest did not say anything, but they were also paying attention. Obviously they were looking forward to becoming earthly sovereigns. Let's kill the few hidden sentries in front of us first, then let the restriction-breaking hammer try to break the formation without anyone noticing. Then we'll have enough time to hide in the dark. After communicating with the restriction-breaking hammer, Night Sorrow said. Although the formation in front of them was very mysterious, the restriction-breaking hammer had the ability to break it. Then he added, of course. If we can capture these earthly sovereigns alive, that would be even better. We can ask who's in there, and when the people inside ask about it, we'll be able to respond easily. It won't be easy. After all, they are earthly sovereigns. It's already very difficult to kill them without anyone noticing, let alone capture them alive. Xiao Tianxian said with a frown when he heard the plan. There are a total of 6 of them and they're hiding in different places. It's not easy to kill them without anyone noticing. How about this? I'll teach you the divine finger. When the time comes, we'll find the right time to kill them with a single blow. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that this was the best choice for now. If it were not for the current situation, he would not have taught them the divine finger so early. So suddenly? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone in the realm of God hesitated. After all, this was not going according to plan. From the looks of it, this is the safest way, Yi Shang added. Then he led the people of the God realm away and found a safe place. Before imparting the God's finger to everyone, Night Sorrow frowned and said, actually, imparting the God's finger to everyone is not something difficult. However, we must ensure that the divine abilities of the divine realm are not learned by outsiders. Let's make an oath right now. He would never impart the secret technique to anyone. After all, things like divine abilities could only be passed down from one person to another. You can't learn it through soul-searching techniques. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian looked at the others and said. Then he took the initiative to swear a deadly oath. This meant that even if he died, he would not impart this ability to anyone else. After Xiao Tianxian finished his oath, the others followed suit and made their oaths. After they finished their vows, Night Sorrow began to teach them the divine arts one by one. In less than 20 breaths of time, he finished teaching them. Time is of the essence. Everyone quickly comprehend it. However, there's no need to test it out to avoid alerting the enemy. After all, the distance is not far. After imparting the divine abilities, Night Sorrow allowed everyone to comprehend it for a while before keeping them back into the space cave. With the help of the concealment rune, Night Sorrow found a suitable location and divided everyone into 5 groups. He placed them near the 5 supreme beings while he faced one of them alone. Everyone get ready. I will count down from 1. Everyone use your god's finger to kill the enemy. One of you will attack the Dantian while the other one will attack the deity ocean. After placing everyone down, Night Sorrow said. Don't worry. We are all ready. Master Wan Jian said excitedly. The others were the same. After all, none of them had used their divine abilities before. Alright. Then I shall begin. 3, 2, 1. Asterisk boom. 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 Asterisk. When Yi Shang counted to 1, everyone attacked the supreme martial artists who were not far away from them from 6 different directions. With the help of the god's finger, the 6 supreme beings were all killed without making a sound. Just in case Night Sorrow did not leave any of them alive. Restriction breaking hammer, it's up to you now. After keeping the teleportation stones and other items of the 6 supreme beings, Night Sorrow asked Little Seven to absorb them all. Then he summoned the restriction breaking hammer. This kind of formation may be very mysterious to you. But to us it's nothing at all. We can break it with a wave of our hand. After the male hammer was summoned, it immediately cooperated with the female hammer and successfully broke a hole in the formation. At this time Wu Lingfei asked, Are you sure this won't alert the people inside? Absolutely not. Unless there is a heavenly supreme inside. The female hammer, who recognized Wu Lingfei as its master, replied. That's good. Let's go in. After getting a positive answer, Wu Lingfei looked at everyone and said. No hurry. We can set up some more formations on top of this formation. This way we can know in advance if anyone comes. Yi Shang said as he casually set up some array formations nearby. Among them, there was an illusion formation, a trap formation, and a concealment formation. In the concealment formation there were a few image stones. Shall we go in together or enter your space grotto heaven again? When everyone was about to enter the grotto heavens, Xiao Tianxian looked at Night Sorrow again. It will be safer for everyone to hide in my space grotto heaven. However, I think that since we are representing the heavenly realm, we should go in together. After all, the heavenly realm does not belong to me alone. Night Sorrow smiled and said to everyone. After teaching them the god's finger, he had a deeper level of confidence in everyone's strength. Alright. Being taken care of by you all the time has lowered our vigilance and we have become dependent on you. This is not good. Jin Xian said with a smile as he walked into the grotto heavens. However, after walking for a short distance, he frowned and said, What a strong smell of blood. From the position of the cave there should have been a battle. Indeed. Everyone be careful. Using the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow looked into the distance and found that there were many torn corpses in the dark cave. The corpses of these cultivators were all in a horrible state. Night Sorrow, can you see anything? As everyone walked into the cave, the smell of blood became stronger and stronger. Murongji pointed the way and asked. This cave is not simple. If I'm not wrong, this is a land of death. There is a terrifying existence here. Before Night Sorrow could say anything, Xiongji spoke first. The seal-breaking bronze hammers had an extraordinary understanding of space. With a simple look, they were sure that there was no way out. There was no way out. Moreover, there were torn corpses all around. This was different from what they had imagined before they came in. Genius memorized the address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3047. Seal-breaking hammer, work together and try to break the seal. Everyone else be on guard. After the seal-breaking hammer made its judgment, Night Sorrow immediately reminded everyone to be on guard. The smell of blood here was too strong. Obviously, the corpses nearby had been killed not long ago. It was very likely that there was a horrifying existence in this sealed cave. However, even when Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe, he did not find anything. When Night Sorrow did not find anything, Jing Yun shouted, "Not good. I feel that something is spying on us. Jing Yun is the weakest. The thing hiding in the dark might want to attack her. Everyone get ready to attack." Thinking of the miserable corpses around him, Night Sorrow's heart clenched as he stood beside Jing Yun. Moreover, the others in the realm of the gods also unconsciously moved closer. In an instant, the temperature in the dark cave dropped a lot. Even though everyone was a dominator, they could still feel the coldness in their bones. There's a murderous aura. It's very strong. In the tense atmosphere, Night Sorrow suddenly transmitted his voice to everyone. This time, although the sea serpent's eye did not see anything, he could already feel the terrifying murderous aura. "It's coming. I can feel it. It's coming." As soon as Night Sorrow finished speaking, Jing Yun shouted. Then she condensed her divine origin energy and used the divine finger in a direction. As her divine finger lit up the distance, everyone saw a headless armored corpse slowly crawling out of the soil. As for Xiang Yu's attack, it might have been due to panic, but it did not hit its target. This armored corpse should have the strength of an earthly sovereign when it was alive. Now it should be a half-step earthly sovereign. However, it is stronger than an ordinary half-step earthly sovereign. After all, it had comprehended the rules of an earthly sovereign when it was alive. Everyone be careful. Little Seven glanced at the armored corpse in front of them and immediately reminded everyone. If it's alone, there's nothing to be afraid of. However, if the number keeps increasing, it will be difficult to deal with. After using the sea serpent's eye to observe the headless armored corpse, Night Sorrow said coldly. The armored corpse's aura was strong and full of murderous aura. However, the giant axe in its hand was already blunt. Who cares how many there are? Let's fight. The 10,000 Sword sect roared and took the lead to charge forward. In everyone's opinion, Jing Yun's cultivation time was too short after all, so she was still a little weak. Just as Master 10,000 Swords swung his sword at the armored zombie. Out of nowhere, the headless armored zombie let out a roar. Then he swung his axe fiercely at the 10,000 Swords sect. The precepts contained within this swing were clearly stronger than the myriad sword sect's attack. With a boom, the master of the 10,000 Swords was sent flying. If it wasn't for his sword's quality, it would have been broken. This thing is quite capable, everyone be careful. After being sent flying by a single blow, Master Wanjian felt that his breathing was a little labored, so he immediately reminded everyone. Just as he spoke, the armored zombie charged at him ferociously. This time, the armored zombie didn't swing the giant axe in his hand. Instead, he stretched out his hands in an attempt to tear the myriad sword sect to shreds. Seeing this scene, Night Sorrow and the others could no longer stand still. Godly Spear. After condensing his elemental energy, Yishan immediately shot out the Godly Spear. This Godly Spear, with the help of Godly Shadow, was extremely fast and wasn't inferior to the Godly Finger. As soon as he finished speaking, Night Sorrow's attack had already landed on the armored zombie's body. The clanging sound of metal colliding rang out in the enclosed space. The armored zombie, which was about to tear the master of the 10,000 Swords sect to shreds, was blasted a few hundred feet away. A few hundred feet wasn't a short distance, but for a cultivator at Night Sorrow's level, it wasn't far at all. When he bombarded the armored zombie's body, he felt like he was hitting a solid piece of iron. This armored zombie's body is very strong, everyone be careful. After helping the master of the 10,000 Swords sect up, Night Sorrow reminded everyone. The attack just now made him realize that the armored zombie's body was obviously stronger than an ordinary half-step earthly sovereign. Thank you. I was a little careless just now. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would have been torn to shreds. After the master of the 10,000 Swords sect got up, he said with lingering fear. During the exchange just now, cold sweat flowed down his back. If it weren't for Night Sorrow's timely intervention, his body would have been torn to shreds in a moment of carelessness. The armored zombie's strength was obviously stronger than what the master of the 10,000 Swords sect had imagined. Let's not talk about this for now, let's continue to fight. Although the armored zombie is strong, it shouldn't be invulnerable. After helping the master of the 10,000 Swords sect up, Night Sorrow once again condensed his divine origin energy and attacked the armored zombie with the Godly Finger. When Night Sorrow attacked, the rest of the people in the realm of the gods also attacked with the Godly Finger. Although the armored zombie's body was strong, its speed wasn't fast. Although it knew how to dodge, it didn't manage to avoid these attacks. However, only Night Sorrow's attack managed to penetrate its armor. The others' attacks didn't have much effect. This thing's defense is too terrifying. Jin Xian's brows furrowed in shock when he saw that the armored zombie hadn't suffered much damage despite being bombarded by a barrage of attacks. After all, the Godly Finger's attack power was very sharp. So okay. Being able to penetrate its defense proves that it isn't invulnerable. Little 7, if it loses its ability to resist, can you swallow it? This thing was an earthly sovereign when it was alive. If you swallow it, you should be able to gain a lot of benefits, right? Night Sorrow asked Little Tower as he cooperated with the others to attack the armored zombie. Little 7 replied with certainty, in this situation I definitely can't. But if it loses its ability to resist, then we will definitely gain a lot. In addition to the previous accumulation, I can help one of you become an earthly sovereign in a short period of time. Good. Very good. Night Sorrow was shocked when he heard Little 7's reply. Whether it was him or the others, their strength would increase greatly when they became earthly sovereigns. This was definitely a great thing for the Grotto Heavens. However, the battle in front of them was obviously more difficult than they had imagined. Although everyone attacked together, they quickly suppressed the armored zombie. Just as the armored zombie was about to lose its ability to fight, it suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. After the roar, dozens of specters with the strength of earthly sovereigns immediately appeared in the cave. Every single one of these soul-like spirits was extremely ferocious. Although they were specters, they still had the ability to fight. After they appeared, they cooperated with the armored zombie to launch a terrifying soul attack on the people in the realm of the gods. The strength of the soul attack made Night Sorrow feel that it was a little difficult to deal with. Chapter 30-48. Such a terrifying divine soul attack is hard to deal with. What should we do? Seeing so many divine souls unleashing such a powerful divine soul attack, Murong Jinlu anxiously shouted. His shouts filled the cave. Murong Jinlu's shouts had the intention of disrupting the morale of the army. Xiao Tianxian shouted in dissatisfaction, "What are you shouting for? This is a sealed space, we are fighting with our backs against the wall. There is no way out. If you want to live, fight with your life." But, Murong Jinlu wanted to say something, but he was quickly entangled by two divine souls. Under their attacks, Murong Jinlu quickly lost the ability to resist. Night Sorrow. Murong Jinlu seems to be unable to resist. Night Sorrow, who was in the middle of the battle, had consumed a lot of his divine soul. He had no time to look around, so he did not notice the problem with Murong Jinlu. It was Little 7 who reminded him. Bastard. Turning around to look at Murong Jinlu, Night Sorrow's eyes immediately changed. At this moment, he had been completely defeated, and his divine soul was being torn apart. Night Sorrow did not hesitate at all, he directly used Soft Dragon Roar to push back the two divine souls that were fighting Murong Jinlu. Then he kept them in his space grotto heaven. He asked, "Jinlu, how are you? Luckily you acted in time or else I would have died." Murong Jinlu's face revealed a bitter smile. After surviving a disaster, his mood was a bit uneasy. But at this moment he still reminded, "Don't worry about me, there are still others. These damn things are too hard to deal with. Don't worry. I will think of a way." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Murong Jinlu, then continued to fight with the divine souls. Although everyone tried their best to resist, they were still at a disadvantage. The headless armored corpse, which had been injured earlier, was also gradually recovering. When it completely returned to the battlefield, everyone in the heavenly realm was completely suppressed. This won't do. If this goes on, we will all die here. Everyone take out whatever secret treasures you have. Even if we self-destruct, it is better than being killed ourselves. Thousand Swords Master shouted. We know that too. But what he could take out, he had taken out almost all of them. After all, even the Restriction Breaker Hammer and Little 7 have joined the battle. Jin Xian replied helplessly. The current situation was simply too passive. A trace of despair gradually rose in everyone's hearts. Right at this critical moment, Night Sorrow suddenly shouted, "Primal Chaos! Come out quickly. Suck all these souls into your Primal Chaos space. We'll deal with them in the Primal Chaos space." Good. Watch me. When the chaotic heavenly crystal beast received Night Sorrow's order, it immediately came out of the spatial paradise. He had just achieved the upper level 9 Heaven's Supreme Realm not long ago. His aura was extremely strong. After he appeared, he completely exploded. Together with Night Sorrow, they fought against the headless armored corpse and sucked everyone into the chaotic space. Then he shouted, "Night Sorrow. I'll hold off this armored zombie. You go in and deal with those Supreme Being spirits." "Good. You just have to hold it back," Night Sorrow said, and also entered the primal chaos space. In the primal chaos space he could be considered half a master, and he was completely familiar with it. It was completely different when he fought against those Supreme Being spirits. After the Supreme Being spirits were suppressed, Night Sorrow completely exploded and quickly finished off a few of them. At this time he shouted, "Everyone, now is the best opportunity. If we delay any longer, the primal chaos space will not be able to suppress them." Okay. The others made a long story short and immediately attacked. With everyone's cooperation, these originally extremely terrifying Supreme Being spirits were destroyed one by one. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast has really done a meritorious deed this time. Without it, we might have all died this time. After finishing off these Supreme Being spirits, Xiao Tianxian said with lingering fear. Boom. Right at this moment, they who were within the chaotic space immediately sensed a strand of extremely powerful collision force. Not good. The primal chaos space can't resist the armored zombie. Let's go help immediately. Night Sorrow, who had also relaxed a little, realized this problem and immediately shouted. Okay. Let's kill that headless armored zombie together. Myriad Sword Sect also said. Then, everyone in the Heavenly Realm territory came out of the primal chaos space. As soon as they returned to the cave, they saw the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's huge body that had been knocked down. Although its body was incomparably huge, its combat strength was much weaker than the armored zombies. If it wasn't for Night Sorrow immediately striking the armored zombie with the divine finger as soon as he appeared, the armored zombie would have been killed. Primal Chaos. You've done well this time. Jing Yun, give all the earthly supreme rules and essence to the primal chaos. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast was seriously injured, so Night Sorrow immediately asked Jing Yun to take out the champion's reward that had not been absorbed and give it to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. "I'm fine, I just need to rest for a while." After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast collected the resources, it returned to Night Sorrow's grotto heaven to recover. At this time, it had already contacted Night Sorrow's battle pet contract and was considered friends. As for Yi Shang and the others, they no longer called him it. "Okay. You rest in peace. I will avenge you for being injured." Night Sorrow transmitted his voice and once again held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. The armored zombie's body was very strong, and its combat strength was astonishing. Among the people present, only he could fight against it. Then, Night Sorrow restrained the armored zombie while the others bombarded it from a distance. After fighting for about 6 hours, they finally defeated the armored zombie completely. Little Seven quickly sucked it into the tower. When the armored zombie lost its combat strength, Night Sorrow immediately reminded Little Seven. "Don't worry. I've long been ready." Hearing this, Little Seven instantly sucked the armored zombie into the tower. Although it was only on the 7th level of the Eternal Divine Tower, its functions were still very powerful. After sucking the armored zombie in, it quickly converted it into rules and energy. After doing all this, Little Seven said, "At present, except for Night Sorrow, any one of you can quickly advance to the supreme stage if you enter the tower to cultivate. Who will go first?" "How long will it take to advance to the supreme stage?" After Little Seven finished speaking, Night Sorrow asked. If he wanted to advance to the supreme stage, he needed more rules and essence than the others. Little Seven in front of him couldn't help him much. "It depends on comprehension. If it's not bad, a few years will be enough." Little Seven thought for a moment and replied. Then, everyone in the Heavenly Realm territory immediately discussed who should go first. Originally, everyone recommended the Myriad Sword Sect because he was more brave and would be the first to face any danger. If he could advance to the supreme stage, it would be a very good improvement for the entire team. However, Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Human Mobile Version Reading Website. Chapter 3049. However, after being recommended by everyone, Myriad Sword Master felt that it was better to let Jing Yun, who was an upper-level dominator, directly advance to the supreme level. It was obviously more suitable for an upper-level dominator to advance than a half-step supreme. When everyone heard this, they felt that it made sense, so they did not continue to argue. They let Jing Yun, who was too embarrassed, enter the Eternal Divine Tower to cultivate. Finally, with Night Sorrow's nod, Jing Yun finally went in and began to cultivate. Night Sorrow led the others to search for the exit of the cave in front of them. However, after looking around, they found that there was no exit at all. At this moment, Myriad Sword Master asked doubtfully, if there is no exit or entrance, how did the armored zombie leave after killing the supreme level? After all, when we first entered here, there were no creatures in the cave. That makes sense. Let's look carefully. Night Sorrow said, and then transmitted his voice to the restriction-breaking hammer. You guys also study and see if there are any restrictions around. We've been looking, but we haven't found any clues. The hammer replied immediately. They really couldn't find any way out. Little Seven had no way out either. For a time, everyone was trapped in the cave. Just like that, he had been trapped for 10 years. In these 10 years, Night Sorrow and the others tried all kinds of methods, but they couldn't leave. Obviously, their attacks couldn't threaten the cave in front of them. After 10 years of being trapped, Myriad Sword Master sat helplessly on the ground and said sadly, "We won't be trapped here forever, right? There's such a possibility. If there's really no other way, we can only cultivate hard. Try to break through to the supreme level and then try to attack the surrounding walls." Night Sorrow said helplessly. After being trapped for so many years, he had no way out. Divine Finger was the most powerful attack in the Eternal Supreme World, but it couldn't break through the walls of the cave. Because the walls of the cave could grow by themselves. After being blasted open, they would heal by themselves in the blink of an eye. So, without relying on resources, it's easier said than done to advance to the supreme level. Among us, I'm afraid only Jing Yun can advance to the supreme level. Myriad Sword Master said helplessly. It's fine. If we go out late, we'll miss the opportunity at most. It's nothing. At this moment, Xiao Tianshan comforted her. He, on the other hand, had been relatively calm and had been cultivating peacefully. That's nothing. Can you imagine the purpose of our trip? It was to rescue the 2 Vice City Lords. The strength of the 2 City Lords should be slightly stronger than Brother Yi. Aren't you also trapped in the formation and unable to come out? Master Wan Jian said speechlessly. After hearing what he said, everyone's faces changed. That's right. The 2 Vice City Lords were trapped in the same grotto heavens. Their situation was very likely the same as theirs. Don't worry, we will definitely be able to get out. At this moment, Night Sorrow comforted him with certainty. He had the Supreme Longevity Summoning Stone in his hands. He could summon the Supreme Longevity from any corner of the Eternal Supreme World. With his ability, he would definitely have a way to leave. What was that sound? Why is there thunder in the cave? After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Yuan Fingxue suddenly asked with a puzzled expression. What thunder? Hearing this, Master Wan Jian frowned. But soon he also heard the sound of thunder. At this moment, Little Seven said, It's Jing Yun facing the supreme tribulation in the Eternal Divine Tower. If nothing unexpected happens, she will soon become a supreme. Really? That's great. Hearing that Jing Yun was about to become a supreme, everyone's eyes lit up. Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei were a little worried that Jing Yun would not be able to withstand the supreme tribulation. However, the facts proved that their worries were completely unnecessary. Half a month later, a delicate shout suddenly came from the Eternal Divine Tower. Then Jing Yun's graceful figure suddenly flew out of the Eternal Divine Tower. At this moment, runes were flowing on her body, making her look like a floating immortal. And her aura was very stable. She did not give off a feeling of emptiness because her strength had increased too quickly. Congratulations to Jing Yun for becoming a supreme. You are one step ahead of all of us. After confirming that Jing Yun had successfully become a supreme, Master Wan Jian was the first to congratulate her. Night Sorrow's face had a trace of a smile. He was sincerely happy for her. Then everyone else also congratulated her. After everyone finished, Jing Yun said softly, Actually, when I entered the Supreme Divine Tower to cultivate this time, not only did my strength advance to the level of a lower supreme, I also obtained a lot of useful things. What things? Wu Lingfei was puzzled. The things I obtained were the armored zombies' memories. It turns out that in the big and small grotto heavens, there are 3 big grotto heavens and 3,000 small grotto heavens. What place is here? It is one of the small grotto heavens. At this point, Jing Yun paused for a moment and said, And in the big and small grotto heavens, there are cave masters. The cave masters in the 3 big grotto heavens are all earthly sovereigns. However, their strength is suppressed by the supreme space, so they can't completely unleash the strength of an earthly sovereign. As for the 3,000 small grotto heavens, the cave master's strength is about the same as the armored zombies. Then how do we get out? There should be such things in the armored zombies' memories, right? After Jing Yun finished speaking, Night Sorrow asked. Of course there is. Jing Yun smiled and said, what I'm talking about is the original cave master. Actually, anyone who defeats the original cave master can become the new cave master and have the authority to enter and exit the grotto heavens. In this small grotto heavens, the cave master was defeated by everyone. However, its laws and essence have all been absorbed by me. Therefore, I became the new cave master of this small grotto heavens. It is very easy to get out. Is that so? That's great. After Jing Yun finished speaking, Master Wan Jian immediately laughed. After being trapped for so many years, now that they could finally get out, he was not the only one who was relieved. Everyone else also relaxed. Getting out is a very simple thing. But the problem is that the purpose of our trip is to rescue the 2 deputy city lords. There are more than 3,000 grotto heavens. How are we going to find them? At this time, Jing Yun said hesitantly. Other than the cave master, is there any other way to break into the grotto heavens? Night Sorrow continued to ask. He felt that having many grotto heavens was not a problem. But the fatal thing was that if they barged in recklessly, it was very likely that they would be trapped in one of the grotto heavens. If the cave master of the grotto heavens did not choose to fight to the death like the armored zombie, but chose to escape directly, then they would be trapped in the grotto heavens forever. That would be very tragic. There is a way such as an earthly supreme level attack. Or a heavenly supreme level attack. Jing Yun said helplessly. So there is no way to break into those grotto heavens? Hearing this, everyone in the heavenly realm territory was a little disappointed. However, at this time Night Sorrow suddenly said, the 2 city lords should be able to be saved. Chapter 30-50. Oh, how are we going to save them? We are not earthly sovereigns or heavenly sovereigns. It is definitely not a wise choice to go to other grotto heavens. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully. We do not have the attack power of an earthly sovereign or heavenly sovereign now. But as long as I advance to sovereign, the divine finger should not be inferior to an ordinary earthly sovereign attack. At that time we can travel between different grotto heavens. Yi Shan analyzed for a moment before he continued, therefore we should go and fight for the fortuitous encounters. As long as we get the opportunity, everything will be fine. That makes sense. Others in the sovereign realm cannot attack at the level of an earthly sovereign. But you are different. You can fight across realms. Naturally, you can also attack at the level of an earthly sovereign. Hearing this, Xiao Tianxuan's eyes lit up. Everyone else's eyes were also filled with boundless light. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at Jing Yun and asked, Jing Yun, you have some memories of the armored zombie. Is there any record of the opportunity in it? Currently, we are in the dark and do not know anything. There are some. Jing Yun organized her words and said faintly, in the armored zombie's memory, a great opportunity will appear in the sky of the grotto heavens every million years. The earthly sovereign's rules and essence will fall from the sky. But every time the competition is very fierce. Many cave masters will fall in the competition. This is also the reason why the armored zombie is crazily accumulating divine souls. In addition, many sovereigns from the eternal sovereign realm will appear. Will the cave masters of the 3 grotto heavens appear? After Jing Yun finished speaking, Night Sorrow asked. If there were no accidents, the competition for the opportunity would definitely be a big scene. In a chaotic battle, if there were 3 earthly sovereigns, it would be too dangerous. Although their strength would be suppressed, ordinary sovereigns would not be able to fight against them. There will also be opportunities in the sky of the 3 grotto heavens. The opportunities in the 3 grotto heavens will be much stronger than those in the 3,000 grotto heavens. Generally speaking, the 3 cave masters only need to guard the opportunities in the 3 grotto heavens. He wouldn't abandon the watermelon to pick up the sesame. However, if someone wants to steal the fortune from the 3 grotto heavens, they will definitely be attacked crazily. Jing Yun organized her thoughts and explained to everyone. Everyone in the divine world was filled with fighting spirit. Without a doubt. The upcoming opportunity would definitely be a crazy fight for it. In the midst of fortuitous encounters, there were bound to be cruel killings. However, if one could emerge from the cruel slaughter and snatch a large number of opportunities, one would be able to become a new force. These people from the God world would also successfully advance to the Audark level. That way, he would be able to catch up with the experts of the older generation and be able to hold his own. Especially Night Sorrow, if he could successfully advance, he would definitely reach the heavens in a single bound. He was about to break away from the sovereign realm and reach the level of the Earth Sovereign. After we get the opportunity, we will give it to Night Sorrow first and strive to let him break through to the Supreme Being level first. This is a big deal. Does anyone have any objections? After Jing Yun finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian pondered for a moment before speaking. What's there to disagree about? Brother Yi advancing to the Supreme Being level is the key to saving the 2 deputy city lords. Of course we agree. Wan Jianzong said indifferently and continued, but I say Brother Xiao, we are all going through life and death together. Things like resources, don't talk about it in the future. It's unnecessary and will affect our relationship. That's right. Between us, there's no distinction between us. Jin Xian also said with a smile. Xiao Tianxian also laughed at their words. Yes, it's my fault. I apologize to everyone. At this moment, Yuan Fengshui asked curiously, Oh right, Jing Yun. When will the opportunity that you mentioned arrive? According to the armored zombie's memory, it should be around 30 years. After Jing Yun said this, she pondered for a moment and continued, Generally speaking, whenever this period approaches, there will be many people entering the big and small grotto heavens. If there are no accidents, there will definitely be people entering the grotto heavens we are in. There will be a lot of battles. It's better if people come. Anyway, our divine world territory has no friends in the eternal supreme world. When the time comes, we will kill whoever comes. Wan Jianzong said with hostility. All these years, under the suppression of the top-ranked territories, the territories in the eternal supreme world had indeed stood on the opposite side of the divine world territory. The reason why the divine world territory could survive until now was basically because of the prestige of the supreme longevity. If we kill a few more, maybe we can accumulate enough resources to let one of you advance to the sovereign level. However, killing sovereigns can only obtain the sovereign level rules in essence. Night Sorrow needs the sovereign level rules in essence, he has no use for these. After Wan Jianzong finished speaking, Little Seven said eagerly. This is indeed a good thing. You guys are so talented that you don't need to consider absorbing the ordinary sovereign level rules in essence, but I need them. Haha, next time, let me advance. Nie Zhonglin, who had not spoken for a long time, said with a smile. In the past, Jin Shen was the weakest in this team. But now, the weakest one was Nie Zhonglin. Nie Zhonglin was a little unwilling to accept the current situation. He thought that although the earlier one advanced, the weaker the accumulation, it was still better than being last forever. Ah good. Since Zhonglin thinks so, we will naturally support you. Nie Zhonglin finally spoke, and Night Sorrow immediately supported him. After that, the people of the Divine World territory returned to the small grotto heaven controlled by Jing Yun, and waited patiently for the arrival of the other territory's cultivators. When they entered the grotto heaven, they randomly appeared in the small grotto heaven in front of them, and it should be the same for the others. Therefore, they were not worried that a large number of sovereigns would enter at once. However, after waiting in the grotto heaven for 2 years, not a single sovereign appeared. Wan Jianzong could not sit still anymore and asked Night Sorrow, Brother Yi, is the concealment array that you set up still there? Use the image stone to observe what happened at the entrance of the grotto heaven. Is that okay? Sure. If you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. Night Sorrow replied. Speaking of which, it had been a few years since they entered the grotto heaven, and he was not sure if the image stone was still there. That's right. It's still there and it's in perfect condition. Night Sorrow confirmed that the image stone in the concealment array was in perfect condition. Immediately, an image was constructed in the grotto heaven. This image was naturally from the image stone, and it recorded the situation at the entrance of the grotto heaven. Very good, with these images, we can see all the possible opponents in advance. After the image appeared, Wan Jianzong said excitedly. Chapter 3051. It's just a part of the eternal supreme world. The enemies in the grotto heaven should all be very strong. What we need to pay attention to the most is still them. After saying this, Yi Shang continued, however, I don't think so. In our small grotto heaven, the enemies we may encounter will be clear at a glance. This is very advantageous for the battle. How about this, when we have nothing to do, we will cultivate here. One of us will pay attention to the image. Good. Then you all cultivate. I will pay attention to the image. Nie Zhonglin volunteered. If he did nothing and directly entered the eternal divine tower to cultivate, he would really be embarrassed. After Nie Zhonglin began to pay attention to the image sent by the image stone, the rest of the people in the God World territory entered the state of cultivation one by one. In terms of realm, they have all reached the peak of the supreme level. It is impossible to break through in a short period of time. Therefore, under the guidance of Night Sorrow, they began to use the divine finger to create their own absolute art. After explaining the general theory, Night Sorrow also began to study the divine finger and mysterious sky secret shadow. He had also studied these two divine abilities before, but his study was not very detailed. The fusion of the absolute art is also not considered the top. And in the next fight for the opportunity, there will probably be thousands of Supremes. It will definitely be a big scene, but it will also contain endless danger. If you are not careful, you will be sneak attacked. Therefore, Night Sorrow wants to fuse an even more powerful absolute art in the next 30 years or so. This time he wants to add something of his own into the absolute art. However, after studying for more than 2 years, he has just made some progress. Nie Zhonglin reminded, everyone pay attention, someone is preparing to enter the large and small grotto heaven. Looking at their clothes, they should be people from the Moon Shadow territory. There are 12 Supremes in their group. 3 of them are half-step Earth Supremes. Their strength is not to be underestimated. Everyone get ready for battle. If they descend here, everyone will use their divine abilities at the first moment. Try to give them a heavy blow at the first moment. After waking up from the state of enlightenment, Night Sorrow immediately instructed. Don't worry. We won't be polite at all. Thousand Sword Sect and Murong Jinlu rubbed their fists and said, if it had been a few hundred years ago, any one of the 12 people from the Moon Shadow estate would have been able to kill these people from the divine world. But now the 11 of them, including Night Sorrow, had completely grown up. He's in. Everyone prepare to attack. Seeing that the people of the Moon Shadow estate had entered their respective grotto heavens, Nie Zhonglin reminded them. Because Jing Yun was a supreme being, her execution of this move was stronger than Wu Lingfei's. Her current attack had completely left Xiao Tianxian, the Myriad Sword Sect, and the others in the dust. Among the crowd, she was second only to Night Sorrow. Although Night Sorrow hadn't advanced to the Supreme Being realm, his strongest attack could already challenge a half-step earthly Supreme Being. It wasn't something that Jing Yun could compare to. Under Wu Lingfei and Jing Yun's guidance, everyone began to exchange ideas and gained a lot. Out of confidentiality, Night Sorrow didn't tell anyone about the mysterious sky secret shadow, afraid that the Supreme Longevity's possession of Feng Wuji would be exposed. Someone's here. Someone's finally here. It's Supreme Being Qing He. Qingyun Territory's Supreme Being Qing He. In the battle for Providence, he was one of the 108 Supreme Beings. While everyone was exchanging ideas, Nie Zhonglin, who had been waiting for someone to come, spoke again excitedly. However, after he finished speaking, he said in surprise, oh no. Qingyun Territory has sent 16 Supreme Beings at once. 3 of them are half-step earthly Supreme Beings. With their strength, they're not to be trifled with. If they enter the small grotto heaven we're in, we might not be their match. What's there to be afraid of? If we're not their match, let Jing Yun teleport us out. Hearing Nie Zhonglin's words, the Myriad Sword Sect said disdainfully. Yes, that makes sense. We're in an invincible position. Nie Zhonglin smiled and formed the divine finger again at the same time. The others in the heavenly realm were also on guard. However, this time they were no longer channeling the divine finger. They were all preparing for a new ultimate technique. And this time, the people of Qingyun Territory were really randomly teleported to the small grotto heaven they were in. Clan M. Chapter 3052. Attack. After the people of the Green Cloud Territory teleported in, Night Sorrow immediately roared. He knew very well that the 108 Supremes who could participate in the battle for Providence were all half-step earthly Supremes and had a certain status in their territories. None of them were easy to deal with. Therefore, in terms of overall strength, the other party was definitely stronger than them. The people of the Celestial Realm had to act quickly and deal a heavy blow to the other party before they landed on the ground. And that was indeed the case in reality. Although Supremacy Qing He and the others of the Green Cloud Territory had been vigilant, they did not expect to encounter all kinds of attacks as soon as they landed. Boom. 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 After Night Sorrow gave the order, the attacks of the people of the Celestial Realm were all focused on the people of the Green Cloud territory. That kind of concentrated public attack made these supreme beings feel like they were in a terrible fix. For a time, the people of the Green Cloud territory were bombarded into a sorry state. Even Supremacy Qin He, who was leading the team, was unable to stand steadily. Continue to attack, use secret treasures and divine artifacts. After the people of the Green Cloud territory lost their footing, Night Sorrow continued to remind them. Kill? Then the people of the Celestial Realm roared loudly. Just as the people of the Green Cloud territory were about to start preparing, they all raised their strength to the maximum and fought with thousands of people. Although the small grotto heaven in front of them was not big, it was more than enough to accommodate dozens of people fighting. Although the people of the Celestial Realm, who had the upper hand, did not have the advantage in terms of numbers and strength, they obviously caught the other party off guard in the battle. Many of the cultivators of the Green Cloud territory fell into a passive state before they could use many of their methods. For example, Supremacy Qin He of the Green Cloud territory, who was a half-step earthly supremacy, was suppressed by Night Sorrow's crazy attacks. Your Night Sorrow of the Celestial Realm? Good, very good. The younger generation is really to be feared. After all, Qinghe had participated in the battle for Providence and was very familiar with Night Sorrow. He immediately recognized Night Sorrow's identity. However, he didn't underestimate Yishang just because he was a half-step supreme being. Night Sorrow had led an extremely weak Celestial Realm territory to win the battle for Providence by himself. This showed that he was a person of great providence. Supremacy Qin He knew that in terms of luck, he was definitely not as good as Night Sorrow's. The situation in front of him also proved this point. The only thing he could rely on was his powerful strength. Different half-step earthly supremes had different levels of strength. As a Supremacy Qin He was a supremacy of the Celestial Realm, he was very confident in his strength supremacy of the Celestial Realm. After Supremacy Qin He spoke, Night Sorrow said coldly, when it comes to fighting he's an opponent. There's nothing of the younger generation. All these years, you people have been humiliating the God world in every possible way. Now is the time to settle the karma. Ah ha 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 ha. If you're talking about the Celestial Realm's territory, our Qinghe group was really involved in it. And I've personally killed a female cultivator named Supremacy Rui and even severely injured a male cultivator named Supremacy of the Horn Clan. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Supremacy Qin He sneered and roared, the next one to be killed is you, Night Sorrow. Don't think that you can behave atrociously in the supreme space just because you have amazing providence. You're still too inexperienced. At the same time, Supremacy Qin He summoned his halberd and smashed it toward Night Sorrow. The target that Night Sorrow had chosen to attack was Supremacy Qin He. One of his arms was injured, and his primordial energy was constantly leaking out. However, the battle had already begun, so Supremacy Qin He did not have the time to pay attention to it. His slash unleashed an endless amount of golden light that slashed horizontally at Yishang. This seemed to be the simplest slash, but Night Sorrow suddenly felt like his body was bound and he could only take the attack head-on. So be it. Who's afraid? Mystic Immortal Golden Slash. Today I'll take revenge for the Horn Clan's supremacy. Faced with Supremacy Qin He's powerful attack, Night Sorrow roared and used the Immortal Golden Slash that he had just comprehended. He was not going to hold back at all against Supremacy Qin He, who had severely injured the Horn Clan's supremacy. Boom. When the two attacks collided, a shocking energy fluctuation immediately erupted. The loud sound of the collision caused some of the surrounding cultivators to be shaken to the point that they were unable to stabilize their minds. Quite a number of people were looking in their direction. When they saw this, the people of the Qingyun territory were dumbfounded. They suddenly realized that Supremacy Qin He's halberd had been broken by Night Sorrow's spear. How is this possible? My immortal slaying war halberd. You deserve to die. The moment the immortal slaying war halberd in his hand was broken, Supremacy Qin He was stunned for a moment in disbelief before he flew into a rage. The immortal slaying war halberd had fought with him for several cycles, so they had a very deep relationship. But he did not expect it to be broken by Night Sorrow today. Even the artifact spirit inside had been destroyed by this attack. How could he not be furious? If you want to kill me, you need strength, not words. You should be a veteran supremacy, yet you don't even understand this. Night Sorrow looked at him coldly. While they were talking, he used his divine soul power to scan the others in the battle. The people of the Qingyun territory who were now unstable, did not show their combat strength at all. Although the many cultivators of the heavenly realm could not suppress the other party, they were evenly matched for the time being. Jing Yun was fighting against the other half-step earthly supremacy of the Qingyun territory, and she vaguely had the upper hand. Speaking of which, the Myriad Sword sect was in the most sorry state in the heavenly realm. He had sacrificed another half-step earthly supremacy to pin down the Qingyun territory, but he was beaten back repeatedly. At this moment, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice to Little Seven. Little Seven, Restriction Breaker Hammer, go and help Brother Wan. Okay, don't worry. With our help he won't be so passive anymore. Little Seven responded and flew to Myriad Sword sect's side with the Restriction Breaker Hammer. With their help, the master of the Myriad Sword sect immediately smiled. He glanced at Yi Shan and continued to fight. Supremacy Qin He, who was ridiculed by Night Sorrow, was completely enraged. His veins were bulging, and he directly ignited the power of his bloodline and fought with his life on the line. Junior. This is not your time yet. After Qin He ignited his bloodline power, he put away the broken halberd and used his speed to close in on Night Sorrow. He was ready to engage in close combat. Close combat, huh? Come on. I'm not afraid of you. Night Sorrow, who was very confident in his close combat ability, saw through Supremacy Qin He's intentions and was not afraid at all. On the contrary, he was quite excited. He put away the golden heavenly halberd and fought with his opponent. Clan M. Chapter 3053. Junior. You overestimate yourself. Seeing that Night Sorrow had chosen to fight him head-on, a sinister smile appeared on Supremacy Qin He's face. At the same time he roared inwardly, Green Cloud Myriad Transformations Art. He instantly increased the strength of his body by dozens of times and started fighting with Night Sorrow. As a half-step earthly sovereign, Supremacy Qin He's strength was about the same as Night Sorrow's. It was just that his body was slightly weaker. However, after using the Green Cloud Myriad Transformations Art, he instantly gained the upper hand. This was because the Green Cloud Myriad Transformations Art was a divine ability passed down in the Green Cloud territory. How did the strength of Supremacy Qin He's body increase so much in such a short period of time? Night Sorrow, who had been fighting with him for a while, frowned and used the Sea Serpent's eye to observe. He immediately saw something that normal eyes could not see. The surface of Supremacy Qin He's body was covered in a layer of green energy runes. In the subsequent attacks, Night Sorrow confirmed that it was this layer of green energy runes that was taking effect. His melee attacks were basically all blocked by these energy runes. Therefore they did not have much effect. What an amazing ultimate technique. Or perhaps you're using a divine ability? After resisting for a while, Night Sorrow looked at Supremacy Qin He and said. For the time being, he really had no way of breaking through his opponent's defense in melee combat. He could only passively take a beating. You have a good eye. But what can you do? Our Green Cloud territory's divine ability has an amazing defense. You have no way of breaking it. While suppressing Night Sorrow, Supremacy Qin He sent a voice transmission confidently. Your Green Cloud territory's divine ability is indeed very powerful. But it's not invincible. It was obvious that the Green Cloud territory's divine ability was to increase the cultivator's defense. However, the Godly Realm's divine ability was the sharpest attack. During the conversation, Night Sorrow, who was constantly thinking, knew that he did not have the chance to activate the Divine Finger or the mysterious immortal Golden Slash in melee combat. Under such circumstances, he did not take out his golden heavenly halberd. Instead, he started thinking about a new ultimate technique. After being suppressed by Supreme Qin He for about 100 breaths, Night Sorrow finally comprehended a new supreme technique amidst the other party's arrogant laughter. He channeled all the power of the Divine Finger into his fingertip. Then he would use the power contained in his finger to fight against Paragon Qin He. After the power of the Divine Finger was channeled to his fingertips, Night Sorrow's next attack produced an immediate effect. He scratched one of Paragon Qin He's arms, leaving a bloody wound that was so deep that his bones could be seen. How is this possible? That's impossible. Supremacy Qin He had a look of disbelief on his face when Night Sorrow scratched his arm until it bled. What shocked him wasn't that he was injured, but that the divine ability of the Clear Sky territory was broken. This was something he simply could not accept. Nothing is impossible. Since your defense has been breached, then just wait for your death. In the process of being suppressed, Although Night Sorrow was passive, he relied on his strong fighting spirit to successfully resolve the opponent's attacks time and time again. At this moment he was already able to breach the other party's defenses, so it did not take long for him to gain the upper hand in the battle. How is this possible? Could it be that he has already comprehended the divine finger of the divine realm's divine ability to perfection? He can change the way he uses it at will? During the battle, Supremacy Qin he frowned as he thought about this. However, no matter how he thought about it, it was useless, because he was completely suppressed. How dare you get distracted while fighting me? Night Sorrow, who knew that his opponent was letting his imagination run wild, roared and attacked again. This time, not only did Night Sorrow use his finger to channel the divine finger, but he also cast the divine essence trapping formation. He trapped Supremacy Qin he within it. Junior, you're always so overconfident. Let's see how you're going to die. Logically speaking, the trapped Supremacy Qin he should have been in despair. However, he did not. Instead, he burst into a confident grin. Then, Supremacy Qin he summoned a battle pet that was about as strong as him in the enclosed space. This battle pet was a tall white ape. The white ape had 8 arms and each of them held a weapon. After being summoned, the white ape roared at the sky and cooperated with Supremacy Qin he to launch a fierce attack on Night Sorrow. This isn't going to be easy. In a one-on-one battle, Night Sorrow could easily suppress Supremacy Qin he. However, now that he summoned the white ape, it was a 2-on-1 battle. In an instant, Night Sorrow was once again suppressed. He felt a little helpless as he murmured to himself. At this moment, the other people in the divine realm were also evenly matched with the other party. They were vaguely in a passive position. The only one who had the upper hand was the Myriad Sword Sect. With the help of the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven, he was suppressing the other party's half-step earthly sovereign. Therefore, Night Sorrow immediately sent a voice transmission to the Myriad Sword Sect. Brother Wan, I'm placing all my hopes on you in this battle. Cooperate with the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven and quickly kill your opponent. Then come and help me. Don't worry. We'll be able to finish him off very soon. While the Myriad Sword Sect sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow, he unleashed his strongest fighting spirit. He transformed into a sword and fought with the other party. However, although he had the upper hand, it was still difficult for him to kill the other party in a short time. What should I do? The Myriad Sword Sect, who knew that Night Sorrow was fighting against 2 people at once, was extremely anxious. However, there was nothing he could do. At this moment, Little Seven suddenly said, "Forget it. I'll unleash my power once." How are you going to unleash your power? The Myriad Sword Sect asked curiously. You'll know when you see it. Little Seven sighed, and the tower suddenly erupted with a bright light that filled the sky. These rays of light quickly gathered together. It formed a transparent human body. After the energy gathered into a human body, its strength was similar to that of a half-step earthly sovereign. Then it did not continue to help the Myriad Sword Sect. Instead, it rushed to Night Sorrow's side. Your Little Seven? Yi Shang asked doubtfully when he saw the performance of the ability to measure his body. That's me. But this time, I've used up a lot of my accumulated power for hundreds of thousands of years. You'll have to compensate me later. Little Seven said faintly. Don't worry. I'll leave most of the gains this time to you. Night Sorrow said with a smile. If Little Seven had not unleashed his power at the critical moment, their heavenly realm territory would really have to withdraw from this small grotto heaven. Now they had the confidence to fight. It's not just the battle in front of us. During the fight for fortuitous opportunities, I'll also absorb a lot of energy. Otherwise, it'll be very difficult to make up for the consumption this time. Little Seven said and continued, I'll help you restrain the white ape. You continue to fight with Supremacy Qin he. Remember, end the battle quickly. I won't be able to hold on for long. Don't worry. I'll kill him as soon as possible. Night Sorrow said. Then he added, as for the energy, you can absorb as much as you want. Clan M. Chapter 3054. Ah, since you've said that, anything is negotiable. Little Seven replied cheerfully and started fighting the 8-armed white ape. Strangely, after the battle started, Little Seven, who was originally in his human form, suddenly transformed into the 8-armed white ape. The 8-armed white ape fighting him was completely enraged by Little Seven and started attacking him crazily. However, Little Seven, who had transformed into the 8-armed white ape, was not afraid of the 8-armed white ape at all and easily blocked its attacks. Seeing that Little Seven was temporarily holding off the 8-armed white ape, Knight Sorrow felt a little relieved. However, he knew very well that Little Seven would not be able to hold on for long. The Myriad Sword sect would also not be able to withstand the other party's half-step earthly supremacy. Therefore, when facing Paragon Ching He again, Knight Sorrow unleashed all his combat power and fought him crazily. This time, Paragon Ching He's defense was no longer unbreakable in close combat. Not long after the battle started, he was forced into a passive position. After being suppressed by Knight Sorrow, Paragon Ching He, who was in danger of losing his life at any moment, looked at the others and realized that both sides were evenly matched. The other battles were very tense, and they were not progressing as quickly as his side. He had wanted to call for help, but when he realized that there was no one to call for help, he suddenly had an ominous feeling. He thought to himself, that little B** starred is much stronger than I expected. There's nowhere to run to in the grotto heaven. What should I do? How dare you get distracted? Knight Sorrow, who realized that Paragon Ching He was starting to think of a way out, still had the upper hand. With a loud roar, he broke one of Paragon Ching He's arms. After losing half of his arm, Paragon Ching He let out a beast-like roar. His brows were filled with resentment. However, he quickly put away his resentful expression. He sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow. Actually, we don't have to resort to violence to solve this matter. We can definitely talk about it. What do you want to talk about? Knight Sorrow asked in return. His attacks didn't stop for even a moment. Don't continue to kill us. If you let us go, I'll secretly teach you the Qingyun territory's inherited mystical ability, the Qingyun Myriad Transformations art. After Paragon Ching He said that, Knight Sorrow was still attacking him. He continued, I can swear that what I've imparted to you is the true divine ability of inheritance. There is absolutely no falsehood in it. You've already mastered the God's finger. If you learn the myriad transformations, you'll definitely be able to fuse them together to create a new and powerful mystical ability. It's also a good thing for the upcoming fight for the opportunity. Why do you say that? We can really do it. Hearing Paragon Ching He's words, Knight Sorrow was a little tempted. The most precious thing in every territory was the inheritance of the divine ability. Knight Yi was the Myriad Sword Myriad Transformations, Knight God. However, he was not a child. He continued to attack the other party during the conversation. However, it will be very painful for me to pass on the inheritance to you privately. If the people in the territory find out, I will definitely die a horrible death. While we're fighting, I'll secretly teach you. Also, you have to promise not to use this mystical ability in front of the cultivators of the Qingyun territory. How about that? Supremacy Ching He bargained with him. He was clearly a coward who was afraid of death. You're about to be destroyed, so what right do you have to bargain? Knight Sorrow snorted in disdain and said, Immediately swear a heavenly Tao oath to teach me the mystical ability. As for me, I won't make any oaths to restrict myself. However, I can promise that I'll try my best not to let the people of the Qingyun territory know about this. That's great. Paragon Ching He replied and immediately swore a heavenly Tao oath. Then he secretly taught the Myriad Transformations art to Knight Sorrow. After learning the Myriad Transformations art, Knight Sorrow had already mastered 3 mystical abilities. However, he did not have the time to study it now. He sent a voice transmission to Paragon Ching He and said, How do you think we should end this battle? There's a way. I'll pretend to lose to you and let you capture me. After you capture me, you can kill all the people of the Qingyun territory present here. Then you can let me go. Paragon Ching He sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. In order to survive and not expose what had happened today, he had really made up his mind. In order to survive, you're really despicable and shameless. Knight Sorrow said disdainfully, but he did not object. After all, Paragon Ching He had already used the Myriad Transformations art to buy his life. In the ensuing battle, Paragon Ching He was indeed captured by Knight Sorrow, just as he said. Then the 8-armed white ape was also recalled. Without the 2 top combatants, Paragon Ching He and the 8-armed white ape, the strength of the Qingyun territory decreased by about 30% in an instant. How could they resist the attacks of the people of the heavenly realm? After Knight Sorrow joined the battle, the people of the Qingyun territory were quickly suppressed. However, they were not as humble as Paragon Ching He. They had no intention of surrendering at all. In the end, they were all sucked into the eternal divine tower. This time they were transformed into laws and essences. Little Seven absorbed all of them and did not leave them for Nie Zhonglin. This was because he had consumed a lot of energy at a critical moment and needed these to make up for it. After wiping out the people of the Qingyun territory, Night Sorrow let Paragon Qinghe out. He said, "You can leave now." "Alright. I'll leave right away." Paragon Qinghe nodded and bowed. Then he said, "Please teleport me out." Jingyun let him go. Night Sorrow glanced at Jingyun. "Let him go?" Jingyun, who usually obeyed Yishang's every word, was surprised when she heard this. It was not only her. The others in the heavenly realm were also puzzled. Seeing everyone's reaction, Night Sorrow continued, "Let him go, and I'll explain the cause and effect of this matter." "Alright. You can leave now." When Jingyun heard this, she immediately opened the passage to the small grotto heaven and let Paragon Qinghe out. After Paragon Qinghe left, Night Sorrow immediately told them about the Qingyun myriad transformations art. Hearing this, everyone in the heavenly realm came to a realization and felt that it was appropriate. At this moment, Night Sorrow said with some doubt, "Actually, I think there's something fishy about this matter. They clearly know that they can enter but not leave the small grotto heaven, and it's very difficult to kill the cave master. It's very easy for them to be trapped in the small grotto heaven, so why would they come here with blind confidence?" That's indeed the case. Maybe they have a way to leave the small grotto heaven? Or maybe it's because of something else. Xiao Tianxian made a random analysis, but he did not give any useful information. Yishang and the others didn't pursue the matter. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow said, "It's better to enjoy together than to enjoy alone. Next, I'll impart the Qingyun myriad transformations art to everyone." Clan M. Chapter 3055. Ah, Brother Yi is really generous. If an ordinary person obtained such a good thing, they would definitely hide it. There are very few people who are so generous to share it. When Night Sorrow was about to share the Clear Cloud Thousand Transformations art, Myriad Sword Sect immediately laughed and praised. "Everyone is on the same side. There's nothing that can't be shared." Night Sorrow said with a smile and continued, "It's the same as the God's finger. I'll teach it one by one. After everyone learns it, try your best to comprehend and fuse the two divine abilities. Strive to fuse them into a new absolute art." Good. Don't worry. With the God's finger as a precedent, after we learn the Clear Cloud Thousand Transformations art, we will definitely have great gains. Murong Ji Lu said confidently. In today's battle, if not for everyone comprehending a new absolute art from the God's finger, they would definitely not have been able to resist the cultivators of the Clear Cloud territory for so long. Since they had tasted the sweetness, they also had the mood and motivation to continue studying. Changlin, go first. In recent years, Nie Zhonglin had been staring at the screen and did not cultivate much. Night Sorrow was the first to impart the Clear Cloud Thousand Transformations art to him. After teaching, Night Sorrow looked at Nie Zhonglin and said, "Changlin, the energy absorbed by the Eternal Divine Tower this time is all used to repair itself. So, you need to postpone the matter of you advancing to the Supreme Stage. After everyone finishes learning, I'll let the restriction-breaking hammer stare at the screen. Let's all cultivate together." Alright. I have to catch up with the progress too. In the battle just now, the combat strength that Nie Zhonglin displayed was already a certain gap with everyone. At this moment he was ready to work hard to catch up. Go and fuse. I heard that the Eternal Supreme World's divine abilities can be fused infinitely. It's fine if it's just 2 or 3, but if you fuse too many, it will be a test of your comprehension. It shouldn't be difficult for you to fuse 2 divine abilities now. You can add your own comprehension of cultivation into it. Night Sorrow instructed Nie Zhonglin and continued to teach the Clear Cloud Thousand Transformations art to the others. After teaching, Night Sorrow rested for a while and began to study the fusion of the 3 divine abilities. About 2 years' time he fused a new absolute art. This was a very sharp spear technique. The offensive power of the Divine General Finger, the defensive power of the Green Cloud Mantra, the speed of the Shantian Secret Shadow, and the battle experience in his head were all combined into one. Night Sorrow eventually named this spear technique, Qingshen Godly Spear Technique. After this move was fused, Night Sorrow decided not to use the spear arts that he had comprehended or fused in the past. This was because the Qingshen godly spear technique was the essence of what he had learned in the past. He had integrated all his previous understandings into it. If I were to fight another round with Qingshen Prime, I should be able to win even more easily. After fusing the Azure Profound Divine Spear technique, Night Sorrow practiced it a few times in his mind and confirmed that it was much stronger than the immortal Golden Slash. However, the others were still fusing their own unique skills, so he didn't make any noise. He calmly stayed where he was and tried to figure out the other absolute arts, but he didn't gain much. Not long after, the male hammer of the prohibition-breaking hammer reminded him, Night Sorrow, another cultivator has shown up. Looking at their strength, they should be very strong. Let me see. Night Sorrow, who had been awakened, immediately looked at the screen. The group of people in the screen did look very strong. Moreover, one of them seemed to have the strength of an earthly sovereign. They should be from the Heavenly Owl territory and are our sworn enemies. The one leading them should be an earthly sovereign. Logically speaking, an earthly sovereign would be suppressed to the level of a half-step earthly sovereign in the supreme space. However, I think this group of people must have the means to break through the grotto heaven. They are definitely not to be trifled with. Night Sorrow said with a frown as he thought of Mu Tianai, who had been killed. Tianshao territory was one of the 4 holy lands of the eternal supreme world. Moreover, both sides had old and new grudges. If they encountered each other, there would definitely be a battle. The current strength of the heavenly realm was definitely not a match for Tianshao territory. Other than an earthly sovereign, Tianshao territory also had 5 half-step earthly sovereigns, more than 10 upper earthly sovereigns, and more than 20 ordinary sovereigns. With such a lineup, let alone the heavenly realm, any other territory would not dare to say that they would have the upper hand. Their strength is really strong. Xiong Chue exclaimed. He could faintly feel a trace of pressure towards the earthly sovereigns of Tianshao territory. We'll try our best to avoid them. Moreover, I think they're after the opportunity in the sky above the grotto heaven. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used such a lineup. Night Sorrow looked at the cultivators of Tianshao territory and analyzed their movements. The opportunity in the sky above the 3,000 grotto heavens was useless to an earthly sovereign. The earthly sovereigns of Tianshao territory had brought so many sovereigns here. They were obviously up to something big. Hearing this, Xiong Chue, who was originally a little afraid of the earthly sovereigns of Tianshao territory, suddenly said, If there's a big battle in the winter, can we try and get a share of it? If we can get something that's useful to earthly sovereigns, then that's a good idea, but it's too dangerous. But now that you mention it, I'm really tempted. When the time comes, we'll observe the situation carefully. If there's a chance, we'll give it a shot. When Night Sorrow heard Xiong Chue's words, he pondered for a moment and thought of a way to pull a tooth out of the tiger's mouth. Anyway, the realm of the gods was currently the enemy of the entire world. He was not afraid of offending anyone. When the people of the realm of the gods woke up from their cultivation, it would be very close to the opportunity. At this time, Night Sorrow told them about snatching the food from the tiger's mouth. Hearing Night Sorrow's suggestion, the people of the realm of the gods frowned. Although they were tempted, they felt that if they attacked the earthly sovereigns, they might be killed. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll use the resources in the 3,000 grotto heavens to advance to the level of a sovereign. Then, I'll go after the good stuff in the grotto heavens. Night Sorrow said, then continued, but this matter requires everyone's cooperation. Because of the importance of war, I have to advance to the level of a sovereign in the shortest time possible. I need everyone to fight for resources for me. That's not a problem. Helping Brother Yi to advance into the supremacy stage, wasn't this something that we've already agreed on long ago? When he heard Night Sorrow's words, Jin Shen's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. The other cultivators of the realm of the gods were also filled with fighting spirit. However, before the opportunity came, another group of cultivators arrived in the grotto heavens controlled by Jing Yun. These people were from the Azure territory, and the leader was Lan Xian from the Azure territory. After arriving in the grotto heavens, Yuan Fengxue wanted to greet Lan Xian. But at this time, Lan Xian sneered and said, I didn't expect to meet you here. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.